everyone, welcome back to another commentary podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Rasco.
And today, Rasco and I are going to do something unprecedented for the channel. Today, we're going to do a blind commentary on a mainstream superhero movie. And we're gonna be watching the Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition, which just came out at the time of this recording yesterday. And already, I'm seeing lots of folks that I know that have seen it and talking about it online, but I have avoided it until just now because we got some requests on 0 Hour to. I mentioned in passing. I was like, I think we'll do a commentary on this instead of like another spoiler cast. And then I was like, I guess we can do a blind commentary. And then I dismissed that immediately. Then a lot of people were like, no, do that.
Those crazy people.
So today, Rasco and I are going to satiate the desire of those crazy people. And we're going to let you in on our experience watching the Ultimate Cut for the first time. So, of course, Rasco and I have both seen the theatrical version, and I'm sure as we go along on our 3-hour epic journey watching this movie, we'll talk about a lot of things that we experienced in the theater, and we'll try not to rehash too much of stuff we've said before, but obviously, we've got 3 hours, and some of that stuff's going to come back. Important to mention that neither of us are experts on this movie. We don't know it in and out. I've only seen it twice in the theater. Rasco, how many times did you see it?
I've seen this movie 3 times.
Okay. Well, you got one viewing up on me.
So.
And as I am somewhat infamous for it at this point, a lot of people know that this movie was a very strange experience for me. So it's going to be really interesting to see how I feel about it this time around. And this will also be the first time that I've watched it with another person that I know, much less talking about it, but I went by myself both times.
Yeah, I think I went and saw it by myself all 3 times as well.
Oh, weird. Yeah, nobody else in my family's seen it yet.
Oh. Well.
I wasn't, after that first time, I wasn't comfortable taking Jason.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And so my wife hasn't seen it yet either. Anyway, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. We've got a 3-hour, as I said, epic journey to go through. And if you want to watch this with us, the moment of this recording, the only way to do it is to do it legally anyway, is to download the Ultimate, or not download, to stream the Ultimate Cut on Amazon, and I guess there's a couple other places. iTunes is doing it, a couple other places. It's $20 to own it digitally, and there's no way at the moment to just rent it. But in a couple weeks, what is it, Rasco? 3 weeks from now?
It's like 2 or 3 weeks.
The Blu-ray and DVD will come out. So anyway, we will, as I always say, we'll do our level best to provide context, but this is going to be a thing, obviously, because we're responding to things that we've not seen before, that will listen a lot better if you're watching this along with us. And we'll do our level best not to have too much dead air, but we're also going to have to really concentrate on what we're seeing and respond to it. Rasco, this is going to be an interesting experiment. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right, here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
A leaf.
Fall is my favorite time of year, Rasco.
Oh, really? I think my favorite time of the year might be winter.
Affleck opens this movie with a voiceover just like he opens Daredevil.
Oh, yeah. I gotta say, I kind of like this. This is if we have to see all of this stuff again, it's good that we just kind of get it out of the way at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I think so, too. Well, and it certainly is different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is. It's got a Snyder twist on it, which is kind of cool.
And then, of course, the pearls being shot in front of a gun, which I don't understand why anybody would do that.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of interesting because that's Negan and Maggie from The Walking Dead. And, if you know the comics from The Walking Dead, there's a bad history between the two of them, but here they're married. So
awesome. Interesting. I didn't even know he was in that show.
Oh, yeah, he just got introduced. He's awesome.
Cool, yeah. I think it's also kind of amusing that, of course, that's the guy who plays the comedian, and he dies in the first 2 minutes of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks
And
for him.
also in slow motion.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then of course she gets a lot of screen time throughout it because we keep going backwards, but
Yeah, that is
here
true.
he just gets killed real fast. But I kind of liked that casting choice personally for Thomas Wayne. I
I
guess some people
yeah, I
don't.
love that.
I don't know. I guess I don't exactly know the logic behind that, but I think he's great. And he's a really underrated actor.
Yes, I love him. He is and everything he's in, and like now that he's in The Walking Dead, he has elevated the quality of that show just in the
I
one episode he's
bet.
been in.
Oh, he's only even been in one episode so far. Wow.
Yeah, it was the season finale.
Why do we fall?
So we can see a bunch of bats and fly out of the hole.
I guess this version of Joe Chill or whoever he is just being really artistic and knows he's in a movie right now.
I'm gonna savor the moment.
Like when you get a gun in front of you on the other end of your pearls, you know you have no chance. Like you're not gonna. There's no way that a guy does that and doesn't shoot you.
Yeah. Oh, the pearls. No.
You always got to do the pearls. I forget. Was Dark Knight Returns the first thing to do that?
Um,
I want
you
to
know
say it was. I thought Miller made that up. I wish Steve
that
was here because I want to say he's told me that, but I can't remember.
I'm sure Snyder knows because he's he's a huge fan of that.
Well,
So
I
if
don't
that
know if Snyder would know if it was done before that. It certainly was in there. I'm almost positive that that's the case. The reason I mention it is because, a lot of people look at this and they go, God, we've seen that 100,000 times and always with the pearls. But since this movie is directly going to Dark Knight Returns, it's
yeah.
kind of the one place where it's most warranted, really.
Yeah.
Whether
So
whether or not you think that it handles that material well and all that, but
yeah, I mean if
whoa,
anything
creepy red eyes on that bat. That's awesome.
this
I
is
didn't notice that before. That's cool.
this is really kind of odd. Like when I watched this part in the theater, I was just like just like taken back by like this is kind of a weird like I understand like visually what it represents, like having him like fly out of the pit with all the bats surrounding him.
Yeah.
But if you're just like I've met people that think that Batman has bat powers.
Well, that's
And I
understandable.
don't know why they think that, but they'll watch Batman movies and like I've met people who watch Batman Begins, and when he's in the cave and all the bats fly around him in that movie, they're like, "Oh, is this when he gets his bat powers?" And I'm like, "He doesn't get bat powers." And this is like for those people, this is just fuel for their ignorance because like they're gonna be like, "See, I told you he gets
And
bat powers."
furthermore, the big argument all the time between Batman and Superman is Batman's the one that doesn't have powers, so he's automatically relatable.
Yeah. This.
So that is the beginning of our many dream sequences in this movie.
Yes. Many dream sequences.
A confusing number of really strange dream sequences.
Yeah. There's a couple that really irk me in this movie, but this scene is this is like a strong way to open the movie, I guess. And
I think so too.
This is really I don't know, this whole scene is shot really well. And like Snyder's a director who understands how to integrate CGI well.
Yeah, he does.
So like
That's a great strength of his. He doesn't know where to put the camera sometimes.
yeah. And this is hilarious because he's like right here, this guy's like, "Okay guys, boss told us to get out of the building. We had to wait for Bruce Wayne to tell us we could leave."
I
leave."
don't understand that. That would not be the CEO's call. Someone's
you see
running
the giant
things in
laser
that building,
thing
like,
and you'd leave immediately.
You're seeing buildings fall across the street and people are dying, and you're like, I guess if Bruce Wayne never calls, we're just gonna die in this building.
Boss didn't tell us to leave. We're not leaving. Like,
Let's go. Why does everyone in your head have a Batman voice? The boss didn't ask us to leave. You sit down.
it's Batman Incorporated. The whole company. They're all Batman.
The whole company. Why doesn't that ship fly just a little higher?
I don't know.
I never thought of that. Even well, and I can't remember if we saw it going between buildings like that in Man of Steel. I'm like, just go up a little higher.
Oh no.
Or was it crashing? I forget now.
Yeah, I think it might have been crashing.
Isn't
in the
it
movie.
crashing? Is that what it is? Yeah.
I think Superman did something
like
and
it was
destroyed
hovering.
the ship, something like that, and then
Yeah,
it started
well,
like falling.
yeah, because isn't that must be the ship when that drops when he's like Krypton had its chance.
Yeah, that's what happened there.
No, this is really exciting stuff and really cool to see all of this happen from the ground.
Yeah.
And once again, I really thought the whole movie was going to be about this stuff.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the talk before it.
Yeah. This part right here is really cool because they did get the continuity really right. Like with this scene, it's specifically with Zod's like heat vision, like blowing this up. Like I went back to watch like how accurately this part of the movie meshed up with Man of Steel.
Okay, the only question I have for you, because I thought this in the theater, and of course I had just reviewed Man of Steel on Rewind, so I spent a lot of time with that movie. I thought all of this was happening I thought it was dark. I thought it was at night.
Here's the thing. It is really dark, but it's a matter of like the color correction in that movie. That movie
sure?
I watched it and it looks like it's nighttime, but then like at the same time there's like clear light source, so it's really weird.
Oh,
but
wow.
It's
okay.
like just a stylistic inconsistency between these two films.
Then I'll stop complaining about that. I mean, yeah, obviously this movie was a case of just they picked the right color palette this time.
Yeah.
Because before it was just way too muted for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have been okay with it being a little bit muted, but when and it didn't even bother me as much. I mean, a lot of people complain about it real hard. And then I watched special features and saw that they shot on like really clear, bright, sunny days that looked like what you would want to shoot a Superman movie like.
Yeah.
And then it looks overcast through that whole movie.
Yeah. Something that I always found that was kind of strange about this part, and I like this little moment here between Bruce and this guy who works for him. But something I always found weird about this scene is that like we're paralleling 9/11 so hard. And anyone who knows anything about 9/11 knows that if you were in the wreckage of a building like this, you would be suffering from like lung conditions for the rest of your life.
Oh,
like,
that's a good point.
Like everyone here, those little kids, Bruce Wayne, they'd be done. Like they would have severe issues with breathing for the rest of their life.
You think even Bruce Wayne like coming up upon it just because it was all in the air like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean,
I'm glad you brought
and it's
that up.
okay.
I would not have
It's a
even
comic
thought of
book.
that. Yeah, yeah.
So like that's not like a thing I would hold against the movie. Just pointing it out, that's a little funny.
You know, I think it's important to make the distinction between that's an interesting thing and whether or not it, wrecks the movie.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
and if we have a consistent comic book logic, that kind of thing is fine. Like,
yeah.
For instance, Batman operating out of a Batcave that has bats in it,
yeah,
like constantly, and bat guano and stuff. Like, no, you couldn't breathe that air.
Yeah.
There's things like that are just kind of funny.
Yeah.
So that establishes, obviously, Bruce Wayne's reason for being angry with Superman. One of the big questions that I have, and we'll see... Oh, this is new. Is this new?
Maybe this... No, this was in the...
Oh, yeah, this was there. This was there. I'm sorry, what I was going to say is, that was a beautiful shot, by the way.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool.
What I was going to say is... Okay, now I totally forget what I was talking about.
Something about why Batman's mad at Superman.
Oh yeah, thanks. We'll see if that's cleared up any better here, but I want to know why a lot more people don't come to that conclusion. I don't feel like you have to be on the ground to be upset with Superman over that necessarily, or at least ask the questions, right? Bruce has got to be able to tell from where he's standing that Superman's in a big fight. So to just like completely blame him for everything without wanting to at least have a conversation with him first.
Yeah, and I think and maybe these issues are fixed in this cut, but I think it's a matter of we don't get enough of what the people of the world think of Superman. We get a lot of
Exactly.
talking heads and like pundits talking about him, but we don't get enough
And
of
if you
like
can believe them, then everybody except for a couple of really important characters all thinks that Superman is kind of fine.
yeah.
And I don't understand that. There should at least be an argument in a debate, where they're saying, okay, yeah, he stopped this this terrible other superpowered despot guy that wanted to kill everyone, but we've got to question whether he's out for our best interests.
Yeah, and I guess here's Jimmy Olsen. We've got him. Savor the moment because he's going to be gone pretty soon.
It's one of those things where you kind of wish, not really, but after you found that out, you kind of wish in the theater that we did the comic book thing where you have people's names right next to them when they first pop up.
Yeah.
Where it's like Jimmy Olsen. Oh wait, well we don't want to call attention to that because A, he's not a major player, and B, we killed him off. And again, this is just from the horse's mouth, according to Snyder, because we thought it was cool.
Yeah, have fun with him. So is this specific? Like, are these shots new? Like, I don't remember how long this scene went on for.
I think this is new, yeah. I'm learning a lot. These guys are speaking another language. Sorry, we're watching this with subtitles.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we didn't really need that, Rasco.
Yeah, I guess not.
If that was new, that was just okay.
If that was new, yeah.
Look, see, it's continuity that was really necessary because we needed to see the bags go over their heads so that because when they pulled the bags off, we're like, wait, we didn't see the bags go on their heads!
So that guy is the KG Beast right there.
Oh, really? Okay. I remembered someone saying he was in this, and I was like, where? Oh, and Jimmy Olsen's in this. Where is he? Oh, all the people that I didn't immediately recognize are in the same scene.
Yeah.
Okay. I meant to mention this earlier, but I gotta give the score a bunch of credit for that music at the opening.
Mm-hmm.
During the young Bruce Wayne stuff, I just think that score is fantastic.
Yeah, I love all the score for I don't know if I can say all of it, but I really like the some of the beats that you get when like he's talking to Alfred about how the Waynes were hunters. There's really like kind of sad but also kind of creepy music playing, and it's I don't know, I like some of the score in this movie. There's some parts that are kind of just like ridiculous, but
yeah, and one of the reasons I was so conflicted the first time I saw this is because I couldn't decide if it was ridiculous in a good way or a bad way. This movie gets so crazy over the top, and I was kind of loving it for that until I decided that I wasn't sure the movie really knew it was doing it, and that it wasn't consistent about it, and that the story with the internal like within its internal logic isn't really making a lot of sense.
yeah, this is a movie that even though it has such crazy over-the-top comic book things in it, it takes itself extremely seriously.
And at first I thought it was doing that in a tongue-in-cheek way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where like the characters were taking themselves super seriously, but the piece itself wasn't.
Yeah.
But then that gets really awkward for a sequel
Yeah.
to a movie that did not do that. No, I mean, we're just going in a totally different direction. And then if this completely understood itself and had an identity, then you could just complain that the two don't mesh together. But this is a piece. We just went off in a different direction. It's sort of like how Batman Forever is a sequel to Batman Returns, but they look like two entirely different universes.
Was that last shot new with the horses running across the hills right there?
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's in the trailer, but I don't think that was in the theatrical cut.
The hills were alive with the sound of horses. So I think the General's line where he says no one is neutral is maybe intended to be the big kind of crux of the piece, where that kind of establishes what the kind of ethical ambiguity of the whole piece.
Yeah.
I This time around, since we're talking about it, I really want to try to piece this together and see if I can figure out what the movie thinks it's about.
Yeah. I imagine. Okay, so this is clearly new right here, right? This because he's got the bodies piled up there, and okay, this is new.
Yeah.
So they torched the bodies, and now I'm assuming that the idea is that people think Superman killed them with his heat vision or something like that because the bodies are torched.
Okay, as opposed to what I kind of thought, is he flipping off an airplane?
Because it's a drone.
Like, oh, that's a really good point. That makes it even funnier. Yeah, F you, automated airplane.
Oh.
That's fantastic. If they think that Superman torched them with his heat vision, that might end up making a lot more sense, because in the theatrical cut, it kind of seemed like people thought that he was mowing people down with guns.
This is new also. Holy crap.
This is a really elaborate giant action scene that looks like it belongs in like a 80s war movie.
Yeah. Okay, so now we got this part where Superman doesn't kill this guy, but he clearly does.
But he totally does. That's right. Because
I
what
mean,
happens on screen doesn't matter. Make sure that you pay attention to the dialogue, because it'll tell you what Snyder's interpretation is of things that seem pretty clear in the scene when I was watching it.
yeah, and okay, here's what's ridiculous about this. Snyder has talked about how, Batman's armor when he fights Superman in this movie, it's not like a mech suit to make him super powerful. It's there to preserve him so he can stand a few punches from Superman.
Yeah.
And he's getting thrown through walls and stuff in that movie. And you're like, oh, and the suit's there to keep him alive. So you can't say that about why Batman has his armor and then have Superman throw a guy through walls like that and expect that guy to not be dead.
Can I play devil's advocate for a minute?
Yes.
He doesn't throw him.
True.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
That, like it's so nice to sit here with somebody and talk about this as we're looking at it, because that was a big argument that or I don't even know if it was an argument. That was a discussion we had during the spoiler cast, and I never really saw it that way. I had a hard time imagining how that guy would survive, but now that I'm looking at it again, all Superman has to do is put his head down. Like, yeah. I don't know why he dramatically shoots through the wall like that. Or what he's planning on doing with that guy right after. But he doesn't throw him through the wall, and he's not holding him in front of himself or anything. He basically puts him in a big bear hug. You've seen Superman save people with that very method.
Yeah, that's but also
so
I don't know.
I don't want to get too fixated on the wall thing.
Yeah, but okay, here's something I noticed about the bodies. Those bodies were piled up in a pile and then burned. Superman wouldn't do that. Superman would just laser vision everybody that way. Like, the fact that those bodies are all piled up and then burned, doesn't that kind of obviously mean that someone gathered up those dead bodies, put them in a pile, and then burned them?
Yeah, and I feel like, and I don't know anything about munitions or anything, but I feel like you could, like the United States government's probably not able to actually look at the bodies. So there's that. So I guess they just kind of have, people's word for it and hearsay. But, if you could actually examine it, this is new.
Yeah, this is.
If you could actually examine it, Rasco, I think you'd be able to determine what weapon, like that it was a flamethrower as opposed to Superman's heat vision.
Yeah, you probably
But maybe not.
could.
I don't know.
I think you
don't know enough about his heat vision.
You probably could, because I think there would be traces of gasoline, or I think it's gasoline that flamethrowers use as their munition. So
he could have been Firefly instead of KGB's.
Yeah. So
okay, this is interesting.
Yeah,
we've got so now 2 Batman movies in a row. We've got a Gotham football team. And okay. I was looking at that. I think they had the same colors that they did. I think that they derived those suits. I didn't get a real good look at them, but I think they derived the football players' outfits from the suits from Rises, which are, by the way, super cool looking.
Yeah. One of the people in the game held up a sign with Richard Nixon on it. I don't know why.
I'm, by the way, not really sure what that scene was for or what it was revealing or anything, because we were talking.
Yeah, I don't really know. They were saying something about, there's going to be crazy stuff in the city tonight. I don't really know what that was for. Something that I'm curious about. I think so. I don't know if this film was shot on film, but they have obviously gone back and inserted film grain.
Interesting.
And that's something that Snyder does in a lot of his movies. I think that's in the first Man. I think that's in Dawn of the Dead, and I'm pretty sure that that might be in Watchmen, but I'm not sure. But I think that was also in Man of Steel, and I kind of like that. Like, I think that's just a way to somewhat set this film even a little bit more stylistically apart from the Marvel films, just by overlaying that,
and to make it feel ambiguous as to time period.
Yeah,
that cop looks 15 years old.
It's a rookie. This is his first night.
I looked at that. I was like, why did someone bring their kid? And his like clothes look oversized on him, and the hat barely fits.
Oh.
So I feel like between these first few scenes, I'm watching scenes of a bunch of different genres of movies.
Yeah, this is kind of what I would want a Batman movie to look like, this whole scene. But the Superman stuff is kind of, it's not exactly what you would expect when you think of a Superman movie, the way this movie opens.
Clearly not.
And,
yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with that, but it is kind of jarring, the way that it jumps around so much, because this is incredibly, incredibly dark, and I really like this scene, at least. The brand. He's been branded.
I kind of feel like, yeah. This is a really twisted way to start the Batman brand. You know, like Batman always brands. He's always labeling things.
Yeah.
And making sure that his logo is on everything. Now he's gone too far. He's doing it with people.
Yeah. His brand should have been Bat Prisoner. Like, it brands the word Bat Prisoner on you.
Yeah. I don't know if this is intentional, but doesn't that guy look disturbingly like what Henry Cavill looks like toward the beginning of Man of Steel, like with the beard and everything?
But he was looking for him. Batman was trying to find him in the streets of Gotham. He thought that might have been him.
I wonder if that was on purpose. What do you think of this version of Lois Lane?
I quite like Amy Adams as Lois Lane. She was one of the things that, like, from Man of Steel was just like I felt very firmly that I was like, okay, this is a very good Lois Lane in terms of casting. I don't like the way she's introduced in that movie, because they go out of their way to make her like immediately like, I'm really tough and I don't take anything from anyone, with like her first line of dialogue in that movie. But I like her in the role.
Yeah, when she's like I can't even say this line on Geekvolution, when she's like, are we gonna stand here and measure, you know? And then I'm like, what are you talking about right now?
Yeah, like that's just like, gotta make her have a strong introduction.
Like those guys weren't even doing that. I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah. Okay, here's something that this kind of bothers me. Most of the time, like, okay, in the theatrical cut, we get this scene where we see Lois and she's naked. But then later on in the movie, we see Clark, and he's just shirtless in the house. And it really feels like every time they're doing, like, mundane, normal, like, life, just everyday life activities, they're always not fully clothed.
Yeah, Clark and Lois, look, don't judge people. They're nudists. Whatever.
I'm okay with it, but
they can live any way they want to.
Yeah. It's just funny, because I feel like Snyder's like, this is a boring scene. We gotta take their clothes off.
I gotta say, and I don't know if other people have this, but I can't help but wonder why they're living like this.
What do you mean exactly by that? Like, what do you mean?
I would just think that Lois Lane would have a nicer apartment.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it looks like they're living in sort of a dilapidated building. It doesn't. I mean, like, you know, it's homey and stuff. Like you know, I get that it's a big city and you know, you live in kind of a small apartment, but like I don't know. I don't think we've really established... Well, no, that's not true. Come to think of it, we have established that the Daily Planet isn't, like, a big money-making newspaper.
Yeah.
Because we're, of course, doing the modern newspapers don't sell thing anymore, instead of just updating, you know, media to what it would be like Now, to just have her working for in internet, you know, newspaper or putting her on TV or something. So I don't know. Maybe it is that. Maybe she just makes no money.
Yeah, which
because that's true. They do make a big deal out of how Perry White doesn't have any money to send people anywhere.
Yeah, that is true. This is a really inconvenient thing to get all this water everywhere on the floor. Just pointing
that's
this
right.
out. You might get mold if it like seeps into the floorboards. Well, actually, they might have had tile floors.
He'll use his heat vision.
Yeah, just warm it up and evaporate it all.
And he'll evaporate all the water. Yeah, when you're Superman, you can do all kinds of inconvenient things. And like your love life would be so much spicier then.
Just mix it up every now and then.
Like, the water on the floor thing doesn't bother. I don't know why he doesn't take his clothes off first. I mean, I get, because, we're watching a movie and maybe we don't want to see that happen, but, like, I don't know. It seems like it would make more sense. Like, you just take your clothes off.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna nitpick that. I mean, the idea is just supposed to be they're in love and they have a spicy, relationship.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to. That wasn't another 9/11, like, oh, well, you couldn't actually survive a building falling. That wasn't.
Is that your scientific nitpick voice, Rasco?
Yep, mark it down. That's what it is.
Rasco has a lot of different voices for very specific things, and that's apparently one of them. He sounds like he sounds like Peabody from Peabody and Sherman.
I love Alfred in this. Alfred is great.
And I'm pretty sure he was back there building the Arkham Knight suit.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. What if that's like the Justice League suit that Batman has in Justice League?
I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be the suit to fight Superman with, because it doesn't. That helmet looked different, I thought.
Yeah, well, okay, here's the thing about it. I may have just made this up in my head, but I think there were goggles on that helmet back there. And I've heard that apparently the new Batman has like these cool in the Justice League. His costume has like goggles on it.
Oh,
like these like weird goggles that like make his eyes glow golden, is what they said.
So we'll see. We'll have to see how this cut handles the super violent Batman thing, because once again, Alfred in the scene is saying he's gone too far.
Yeah.
He's branding people now. He's losing his humanity. Turns good men cruel. And Bruce's whole response to that is, I mean, I guess he starts the conversation with this, but of course he says that this is new. He says that he is. Oh,
no, this is not new.
This is not new.
This is very.
Yeah, this is not.
Oh, hi.
But,
I love.
I never noticed this T-shirt before. It's got the monkey with dynamite. That's interesting. I don't know if we can call that any sort of foreshadowing or not.
Well, his plan in the theatrical cut, at least, is if it seems like it was formulated by a monkey. So maybe that's what they're foreshadowing, that his plan won't make sense.
I don't know, but he is supposed to be a genius. Like, again, I'm trying to give this the benefit of the doubt and figure out if there's any sort of symbolism going on with that T-shirt.
Potentially. Now, I imagine his plan will make much more sense in this cut, because that seems like that has to be one of the things that they flesh out a little bit more.
But yeah, I wanted to earlier just mention that line, of course, where Bruce says we've always been criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it doesn't look like he's murdering people on screen, all of that is interesting and kind of makes sense.
Yeah. There's a few things about. Okay, I don't want to get into this until the scene happens, but when Batman fights the thugs, there's a couple interesting things that happen in that scene that are kind of strange given what we're expected to think Batman takes away from some of the stuff that happens with him and Superman later on, but I'll get to that when that scene happens.
Yeah. The main thing I want to examine in this scene is how we get suddenly to metahumans from Kryptonians.
Yeah.
Because I've been talking about that and making that argument for a long time, and I haven't been able... Okay, so she says deterrent. He's against Kryptonians. Here it comes.
Oh.
There are more of them, but what does that have to do with kryptonite? Metahuman thesis. Deterrent. I don't know how we got here.
Is it... It could be. This would be very strange, but and we don't know this because we don't actually. We don't know this for sure, but perhaps in this universe, kryptonite is effective against more than just Kryptonians. But I doubt that.
But why would we know that?
Yeah,
how would we know that?
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand if the idea was we needed to turn against Superman, and also let's keep working on different stuff and learn about these people. But I don't even want to jump the gun and say that what he's saying is that kryptonite can deal with all the other metahumans. I just don't understand. I don't see a logical progression of ideas in that scene. I don't know how we got there.
Yeah, well, he does know that it's effective against Zod's body. Like, it can cut through Zod's skin and stuff like that.
Right, but why are we... But just because it's a comic book thing, and B, we're trying to set up Justice League, why are we equating aliens with anyone that has powers that we would consider superhuman?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. The whole metahuman thesis thing would be a different thing. You have people from space... And then you have that, like, I don't understand how that correlates.
That's kind of an issue of just like, oh, we know what movie we're making.
Bomb!
This is hilarious. I love the way this scene is cut together, where he's like talking to the guy, and then it pans to that shot of the Kryptonian like ship facility thing.
Yeah.
But this is just really weird. But I mean, it's
I can't say it's not entertaining.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I am not one of the people that hates Eisenberg's performance in this. I want to know more about Lex Luthor. I think he is two-dimensional and strange, and I just don't... Or maybe not two-dimensional, but I don't know how exactly he got to, this megalomaniac status and this really, like, highly antisocial kind of behavior that he has, but I think the performance is fascinating. I don't hate it.
I agree. I do like the performance. It's kind of worrying when we get to the end because he is kind of crazy, and I hope that he's not like moving forward in this universe just a crazy guy.
It sure seems like it. I mean, it just seems like it's not any more complicated than that.
Naked.
And again,
he doesn't have a shirt.
And again, if we weren't making... Yeah, well, that's a rule in their house.
No clothes.
Okay, now the apartment doesn't look as...
Except for those wrenches next to the TV.
Oh, yeah. Well, he likes to fix things.
the TV just
like, I don't want to say dilapidated. I'm trying to think of a better word. Just not as upscale as I would think of for Lois Lane, but I guess I'm just used to Lois Lane making a better living than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it kind of makes sense that in this continuity she doesn't, and that's maybe endearing because she doesn't care.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of used to, like, the Lois and Clark Lois Lane where, that's a woman that's making close to six figures.
Mm-hmm. So this is not new, correct? This is...
Yeah, I guess a lot of the new footage is later.
Yeah.
And I had heard that this version was cut together a lot differently, but so far it's just some extra added stuff. And so far I can kind of see why certain things were cut. Except for the... Like I get why the football game was cut. I'm not even sure what purpose that serves. Again, I've not seen the whole movie, but I kind of doubt that it's going to matter later more after I've seen the rest of it.
Yeah, that was kind of like... Yeah, the football game scene, like, that's an obvious thing where I understand 100% why that was cut. And I hope that this isn't just like, oh, let's just throw a bunch of extra footage back into this movie to make it longer so that it's like... so we can call it the Ultimate Edition or whatever. I hope that it starts to really add up and improve the experience.
I don't understand why he's doing this during the daytime.
I don't either. I guess maybe he thinks that he has a better chance of getting on the news or something. Oh, one thing that I wanted to bring up, I've seen a lot of people talk about how there's kind of this consistent through point in this movie of people putting labels
hold on, can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
So, we saw the football game because now Perry White's talking about football. We don't need to have seen that. Like, okay, so there's a football game in Gotham. Like, so far, a lot of the added stuff is... See, look, we shot things that set up stuff, but it's all stuff that you don't need to set up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm not saying it's all going to be that way necessarily, but that was funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, there's not Jimmy Olsen, girl. But I was saying that there's kind of like a consistent thing that keeps going on through this movie where people put labels on things. And I haven't read too much about this, but I've seen a lot of people who like this movie a lot more than us talk about that as like a recurring theme that people put labels on things. So I'm just eager to like pay attention to that specifically
okay.
this time around.
Yeah.
Because I know that happens with Superman's monument and the ending of this movie where it's like, if you want to see his monument, look around you or something like that. This is new right here. Oh.
And once again, I just want to reiterate that the purpose of this is for us just to watch it for the first time and react to it and experience it.
Yeah.
And try to piece some stuff together. I'm not prepared to start putting together ideas and themes and things yet because I'm not sure what it's up to.
So this is pretty. I like this a lot that we saw him on the boat. He looks across at Gotham.
Yeah.
Because now we have this definitive, this is Metropolis, that is Gotham, which is something this movie was missing in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, and that's just a simple few seconds establishing shot. Why would you... I mean, I guess maybe if you're going to cut this out, it's difficult to have that.
Yeah.
Because that's establishing where he's about to be. And I guess the idea is he's investigating Batman, even though he was told not to.
Yeah. That was the guy there just told him that he's got a new mean in him or something like that. So
yeah, okay.
It's kind of strange because we're establishing that he got darker, but does that mean that he stopped killing? Because if you hear Snyder talk about this Batman, he does think that Batman killing people by proxy, as he would say, is not murder. That's Snyder's stance on Batman killing. From what he said.
Yeah, in Rasco, just as much as I can, I want to just look at what we've got here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what his interpretation of his own work is. The thing's got to stand on its own. It's got to be consistent and make sense. What we've got here is a Batman that, I mean, like, if you wanted to drive that home, he should have driven that home.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because what we have is a Batman that is not talked about as killing people, but as brutalizing criminals. You know, like end of Batman Begins. I'll show you excessive force. You know, that's the extent that they talk about it. And if the idea is, I mean, that would be nuts. But if the idea was he didn't used to kill people on purpose, but now he does.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not really what it's doing.
Yeah. I love that line. Where like he says something that's like Gotham, crime spree, water, wet. That's hilarious.
One thing I don't understand about this Perry White is why he's not moving his paper into the 21st century if he has such a realistic view on things.
Yeah.
Those two things don't really go together to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, the only reason you would keep your print paper, and I mean, maybe they have in online, you know, presence, but he acts like, you know, we're running a newspaper and it's hard to sell papers and we run a traditional paper, but he also doesn't care about about like journalistic integrity and ethics as much anymore. I just don't really understand those two things.
Yeah, what's strange about it too is like if you want to try to save your paper, you have a guy like Clark Kent who's trying to do some real investigation, and you're like, no. It's like, and I guess his logic is like, oh, a crime spree in Gotham is nothing new, but I don't know. It's kind of strange. It just feels like he's perpetuating the I guess outdatedness of his own newspaper.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it's not a little bit out of character from the Perry White we got in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of got more of this. Not that we had a lot of screen time with him, but I got more of the sense that he was had more of a moral center Maybe the events of Man of Steel have changed him.
Yeah, that's totally there. Again, we don't really get enough with any of the people at the Daily Planet, which is something that kind of sucks. But
I mean, I still love him in the role, and I
yeah,
still, Fishburne, and I still love the performance. I think he's just perfect. I kind of wish he got a lot to do somewhere at some point.
yeah. I really like the Senator character. His name's Senator Finch.
She's one of the only characters that in the theater I remember thinking was like legitimately sympathetic and kind of reasonable and believable.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where this could have easily been just generic person in a suit, uptight business, like, or just uptight politician. But I don't know. Her name's Holly Hunter. She gives the role a little bit. She gives a lot more to the role than is probably on the page.
Yeah, you should never have said that. Because he's gonna literally do that. I'm talking about the peach tea thing.
And she doesn't drink it.
That's because she explodes. Spoiler alert!
Oh, this is kind of cool. I like this music right here. It's kind of, again, it's kind of ridiculous, but I don't know. I like it.
That's the thing is that, like, for some reason I enjoyed this mostly for its really over the top insane melodrama. I looked at it as a melodrama as opposed to a straight up, regular straightforward story.
Dun, dun, dun. Cap?
Yeah.
Oh, you're still there.
Yep. I'm just watching Bruce Wayne go to his parents' grave.
Yeah. Dream sequence. Which is strange because we cut back to this in the flashback when Superman... So I guess the logic is we see him go to the... Well, this is kind of strange because we see him go to the grave here. He looks and it says Martha Wayne, then this crazy man-bat thing happens. But then later on in the movie, like when Superman says, "Don't let him kill Martha," and then he has like flashbacks. He has a flashback to like this dream of the grave with the flowers right next to it, which is kind of strange, but I don't know. I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it looks cool and it's creepy and stuff, but what is it revealing? What is the point of it?
I don't know. That was a cheap thrill.
I think so too. Yeah, and
who's this woman in the bed?
This is. Wait, there's a woman in the bed? Oh, there is a woman in the bed.
What happened in this room? Look at the what is on the floor?
They had a crazy evening together, Rasco.
They invited Superman over.
They had a crazy night. Well, he used his bat powers on her. So, can you believe that we are already 45 minutes into this movie?
Well, that's the thing I was going to point out. A lot of people talked about how they were kind of bored by this movie, and
yeah.
I was not bored by this movie at all.
I wasn't either, and I guess I'm sort of understanding why people are saying that, just because they're ready for the story to get a move on. Like, we're still setting up stuff.
Yeah.
And throwing out a lot of like thematic ideas and stuff that I'm just not invested in yet because I'm not really with these people as people. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm starting to get won over to a degree until the crazy action stuff with the Batmobile happens here in a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess the Clark investigating scene that we got a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
that makes it feel a little bit like there's more of a narrative going on, but at the same time, it does feel very disjointed because the Batman stuff does not have really anything to do at this point with Superman, other than he doesn't like Superman. Like. This is
I mean, that's the reason that he's gotten to this rougher, darker place.
Yeah, so wait, right here, does Lex Luthor invite him because he like I'm confused about this part. So is it just incredibly convenient Batman was invited to Luthor's place
I don't
exactly as
know.
he needs to get something off of his server?
Yeah, in the theater, I remember thinking that I wasn't sure that uh that the oh, this is new, or is
Hey,
it?
more naked scenes.
Yeah, because we gotta have that. Ben Affleck, you're looking great for mid-40s though, buddy.
Yeah. Pretty. You know the thing's crazy? Jared Leto is like almost the exact same age as Ben Affleck. He might
That's
be the same.
insane. But he's gotta be, because he and the Joker would have this long relationship.
Yeah, but like I didn't know that, and then I looked up how old Jared Leto was, and I'm like,
He
oh my
doesn't
god.
look it. Good lord.
Yeah, he looks so much younger than that. But
That's
then
amazing.
I'm like, that's still really cool. I love that they've got such a close. They're so close in age. I love that.
But I was just gonna say, I felt like in the theater, I wasn't sure if the producers and writers on this movie. I mean, I realize Terrio and stuff, but it just felt like they didn't know exactly what Lex's plan was until he revealed it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that's what it watches like, and of course you'd think you'd go back and make everything match. But so when you say, did Lex invite him here on purpose? I mean, I had a million questions about what exactly Lex's big master plan was and why it's so elaborate. Because even if all of it made sense, I still feel like just the basic idea, and some people won't agree with this, but just the basic idea of Lex Luthor decides to have Batman fight Superman, and that's how he's going to get what he wants, seems like there's a myriad other ways to do that. I don't know why
not
that's
go to
the
one
thing.
of the other metahumans that he knows about?
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Yeah, like Wonder Woman. And did he invite Wonder Woman?
Like if it was because of the ideology,
yeah,
somehow, if it was like because he wanted the world to see that, and like he's trying to manipulate the world in some way. But I can't help but think that all of this would be 100 times more interesting if it was simply Batman and Superman have an argument and they feel the need to duke it out.
Yeah.
If we have to have a Batman fight Superman movie, I mean, if that's what you really want to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of issues with that, like when you get into like specifics of the actual fight scene.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things where, and they feel like they were probably choices that Snyder made with how Superman inserts himself in that conversation, where he just like he arrives to talk to Batman in such an ominous way. It's so strange.
I really like how world weary Affleck looks.
Yeah,
he's just been doing this Batman thing. He looks like he's gone on 1,000 missions.
Yeah. I mean, but Ben Affleck, I think, was just always such a great pick for this part. And I mean, a lot of people, I guess, weren't very familiar with his recent work when he was first cast in this movie. But like, based on the stuff that he had been making, like right prior to this movie being announced and him being cast in it, like, I was just from the get-go excited about that.
So there's Lex's really weird speech
where he just gets really like frustrated and like gives up almost.
Yeah, and I think it's supposed to reveal something.
Yeah, that he's really the Riddler.
But yeah, I mean, I want it to be more than just he's a crazy person.
So this, having Clark investigate makes Clark's his concern about civil liberties being trampled on. This scene plays a little bit better with Clark having investigated prior to this.
Yeah.
I always wonder, does Ben Affleck know that Clark is Superman at this point? Because I don't know how anyone doesn't.
What do you mean?
It's just, in this movie, like right here, Ben Affleck is looking at Clark Kent's face up close, and it just feels like specifically Batman should be able to put two and two together. The way this conversation plays out, it does seem like he knows who he is, but it's kind of a strange thing where I'm not sure about it. Like this line right here, he like looks him up and down, like, I know you're Superman, but I don't know if he knows that Clark Kent's Superman.
Yeah, he doesn't. I mean, we've seen that kind of scene 100,000 times, where
Yeah.
it's supposed to be ironic because he's actually looking at that person, and the look is makes it more ironic because he doesn't actually know, but he gives him that look because he's talking to someone who he knows is in the Superman camp and whose ideals seem to line up with that, and so he immediately has disdain for that guy because he reminds him of the person he doesn't like, but doesn't know that he's looking at the person he doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna give it crap for that. Superhero movies always do that.
This part's hilarious.
I mean, a lot of superhero movies do that.
This part right here is hilarious because Batman like looks behind him and Clark is clearly following him.
Yeah,
but
that's
he's
hilarious.
He's just like whatever.
I mean, like let me say that obviously case by case internal logic that doesn't make it okay, but I'm just saying that this is a really heightened universe where in this world, if not anywhere else, I really want to believe that you can put on the glasses and people wouldn't know you're Superman because it's such a out there looking superhero world. But then it also is trying to have a realistic sense about it at the same time.
Yeah.
Unless it just thinks that realism is dark and cynical and gray area, and that makes it more realistic.
Okay. Question about
Yeah.
this. This makes no sense. If Wonder Woman came here for that picture, what was her plan? Because if Bruce Wayne wasn't there, who put the drive on there to get the picture off the server, then like how would Wonder Woman have gone about getting the picture that she wants? Why does she want the picture? Isn't the picture still on there? Like, what's the point? To confirm that Lex Luthor had the picture? I love this shot too. This whole scene right here is great.
I'm also really happy that we still have the Man of Steel score.
Yeah, and that's something that I've come to appreciate the more I've listened to it. I wasn't a huge fan of it when I first saw the film, but since then there's a lot of that score that I really love. And this movie also, it won me over on Henry Cavill in the role of Superman because I wasn't sure about him from Man of Steel. And even though he only has 43 lines of dialogue in the theatrical cut,
I hate that.
he won me over just as him being in the role. I also love this. This part was so cool. When we get Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about Superman, I love that. And I love seeing Superman doing all these things, like pulling this boat right here and stuff like this. This is stuff that we
that
needed
is
to
cool.
see. And I love this line. On this earth, every act is a political act. I think that's one of the most interesting ideas of this movie that it doesn't explore, is that when you have a guy who's all powerful, when you have a guy who's all powerful, everything he does, you can look into every action he takes and you can break down what he would support and not support based on what he does and the actions that he takes. And like, there's so much more responsibility to being Superman than just being careful with your powers and using them for good.
Which really goes against the argument that being Superman would be easy.
Yeah. And that's how you make a character like Superman and that's one of the ways in which it is easy to relate to Superman, is that he has these issues that you wouldn't necessarily think come with being a superhero, but you can inherently just relate to Superman in that way because he has an incredible amount of pressure on him as a person. And it's because of his power. So his power doesn't make him unrelatable. In many ways, it's the thing that makes him most relatable as a character.
See, what starts to give this a bit of a confused identity again is, now we've got a real life current scientific figure talking about Superman.
Yeah,
with Tyson. I love that, but I don't know. Like, it has obviously the Watchmen aesthetic, which is a lot of what visually really excited me about it when I first saw it. Is it supposed to be kind of that? I mean, am I giving it too much credit? Is it supposed to be kind of that same thing where it's like alternate history?
I guess
it's this heightened version, but of our actual world, so it's got that bit of realism because we're using actual people and figures and stuff, but then it's also this really... I mean, because obviously heightened comic books do that.
Yeah. It's more of an awkward... It's more just awkward than it is an issue, I think, because this is Between Marvel and DC, Marvel looks more like the real world, I would say.
Yeah,
But the
sure.
thing about Marvel is that they stray away from showing like President Obama. Like Obama is not the president in the Marvel films, and things like that. But in this, like they talk to the president on the phone, and the president does not sound like Obama. In this movie later on when they're fighting Doomsday, they call the president. It sounds nothing like Obama, but then we see Anderson Cooper on the news, and we see all these real life like political pundits and Neil deGrasse Tyson and stuff like that. But it's strange. It's an awkward mix of the two.
Yeah.
And this is new. Okay, who is this character? Jeanette. Okay.
I think they got that wrong, and her name was actually supposed to be Felicity.
Oh, see, this. I was hoping that this was Barbara Gordon.
Oh, okay.
Because I loved that. If that was that to me, I love this actor. I don't know her name, but she was in the Neon Demon, which I just saw, and she's great in that
I
movie.
heard that was really good.
Dude, I would. Yes, I really like that movie, but she's great in it, and I was just hoping that she was Barbara Gordon, but I don't know. I'm not going to complain.
I want to say Clark looking at the computer here is new too.
Yeah.
So we're making this big yeah, judge, jury, and executioner. Was he not already doing that?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying don't pay attention to the action, because that's not what the story is telling you.
Yeah, because the point is when you're branded by the bat, that's like a card that like when you have that on there, you're good as dead in jail.
Right.
So that's you don't need Batman to go around driving through cars destroying people like that.
Can I ask
like,
you a question? I'm just asking this question because I don't know. Why is that? Why is the Bat brand a death sentence? Why do people want to kill you more because Batman sent you to jail and put a brand on you?
It could be because
you're not like working with Bat. I don't understand. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Someone explain that to me.
It's strange because Batman was interrogating that guy for information.
Oh, there's an F-bomb. F-bomb drop. It's the R-rated version. They can get away with more of them if they want.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
This is new as well. Oh, I was saying that. Oh no, this is not new.
No, it's not.
But
it's not.
I was saying that. I think Batman was interrogating that guy for information. So, like, if you have that, you've probably been interrogated and given up information if you've been caught by Batman. I don't think that makes sense. I'm like, at least to me, that's not a good enough explanation. But I think the logic is like, if you've been branded, you've probably been caught and you've probably given some sort of information to Batman, and like you're a snitch and you got to be like, then like they're gonna get you back or something. This is new right here, I think.
They need to make that more explicit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good enough reason, but I think that's the logic there. So this is new.
I really don't feel like this movie would be organized and paced like this if it weren't for, and I realize these movies wouldn't even exist if it weren't for this, but if it weren't for the way Nolan did it.
Yeah. Probably
you know what I mean?
Not. I think that's
it's just
you can.
We're trying to create this sense of building suspense and looming mystery and intrigue, and I didn't feel like Rises handled that as well as Dark Knight did, and then you get to this and I don't even know what the significance is to scenes sometimes.
Yeah, that's
I tried to be really patient with it in the theater where it would all come together at some point, but like it loses me.
Yeah, it's a thing where Nolan's movies, and this may sound like an insult to those movies, but this is a compliment. His movies are like montages in the best way possible. The Dark Knight flows in such a way where like every scene ends with the music building up and getting exciting if the next scene, but it doesn't start with the next scene. It will start at the ending of the scene prior. And there's this constant sense of, especially in The Dark Knight, this just momentum, and the whole movie has this momentum going through it, and it feels like a montage, but in a really good way. And I think that was the aesthetic from an editing perspective they were going for, but it just doesn't feel the same. It feels like it's kind of trying just to be like the Nolan films,
like superficially, because you have to have obviously a driving story through that. So the idea is you've got this sense of immediacy. that's building through your movie, and you're not giving a lot of exposition and dialogue and holding the audience's hands. You're expecting them to go with you while they're watching things that they don't really know why it's important or significant yet. You have to start to pay those things off quick enough where you don't lose your audience. But once you start rewarding the audience for paying attention to all of that, and if they've been kind of riveted and, scared or worried or in suspense or if unnerved or whatever it is you were going for throughout it, that can be a really successful approach. And I just don't think that's working with this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's new.
This is strange because I don't think Jon Stewart was even on The Daily Show when this movie was...
Yeah.
Potentially when this movie was in production so long that's dated, because this was in the movie when it came out, he's not even the host of that show anymore.
And that guy's eating Hardee's. I hate Hardee's. Don't let Hardee's even buy product placement in your movie. I hate their marketing department so much. They're gross and vulgar, and they sell hamburgers by showing people with, like, sauce dripping down their faces. Just, like, don't let them advertise in your movie. So that was my Hardee's rant.
Is this conversation new?
I don't remember.
I think it is. Yeah, I think that this specific conversation wasn't in the... Actually, no, this was. Never mind.
We are an hour in, and it feels like the first act isn't even close to being finished.
It's weird because I have a hard time defining the different acts of this film.
I don't know if I can even call them, but like, I don't know that we've even really reached our first plot point yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying it feels like we're still establishing things. Establishing what the breaking status quo is, right? Like, I don't know what you would call... If we're in the second act, what was the plot point that propels us into the second act? I'm also not saying every movie must be in a 3-act formula. Dark Knight's not really in the 3-act formula. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I have to believe that there is a real structure and a drive, and I just don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not trusting it.
I guess this scene is obviously propelled by the fact that she has his hard drive, but then this is just kind of like, he goes and he talks to her here, and then I don't think she gives him any new information necessarily, but then later on I don't know, I'm confused about the purpose of this scene other than him and her having a discussion here.
Yeah, like, who's he referring to right now? Is he referring to Talia al Ghul, or Catwoman, or Vicky Vale?
Poison Ivy.
Earlier there's a throwaway line about a phantasm, and I hadn't noticed that before, and I want to see the actor that could... I'm not saying that was a reference to Mask of the Phantasm at all, but it got me thinking, wouldn't it be cool to do live-action Mask of the Phantasm and try to cast the actor that would do a really good young Ben Affleck?
That'd be pretty cool.
And go back and forth?
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
No, is that a terrible idea? Yeah, okay.
No, yeah, it'd be cool to see. Okay,
I just want a live-action Andrea Beaumont, and I think, okay, here we go. And now we get off the rails. I mean, is the first plot point supposed to be Justice League stuff? Is it supposed to be, like, I don't mean to be fixated on this, because, again, maybe we're not trying to be in a third-act structure, but then when you get to the end, it all culminates in what feels like a big third-act set piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no! Look out! Joker's gotta be driving that school bus! Every time I see a school bus at a Batman thing now, I'm always like, oh, no!
It's a trap.
It's a trap! I'm driving the school bus.
I'm really curious. Did this movie come out, or like, I'm wondering if like why Batman?
I remember what it was. I'm supposed to shoot the bus driver. Sorry, what?
I was wondering if like, did Snyder see Mad Max Fury Road, and then that was why this movie was delayed so that they could film this and then put this in the movie? Like, because this is just so strange.
I don't know.
Because that movie, because BVS was like delayed by like a year, wasn't it? It was supposed to come out like 2015, and then it came out in 2016.
My biggest beef with this scene, besides the fact that Batman really should tell Superman about it.
Yeah.
He really should. He should be like, okay, so you turn into a fascist dictator and take over the world. Sorry to break that to you, but you don't end up holding to the ideals that people think you have, and I'm going to have to either kill you or help you make sure that doesn't happen. Like, you can make Batman really sympathetic even though he's getting colder about it. Yeah. I also just don't know how much I'm buying that he's getting this cold about it because of what happened with Man of Steel. You know what I mean? Like, it's so awkward. I just don't know that if I believe anything. But the other thing but the main thing that drives me crazy about this scene is if you're going to have this vision from the future, you really shouldn't have any other dream sequences at all.
Yeah, or
if you're going to have them, they've got to serve a real purpose, and you have to make it clear. Like, wouldn't you think that all the dream sequences would be connected somehow?
Yeah, that's another good thing, and also this is strange because like you're watching this, and
you don't have any context.
You know from scene one that it's a dream, I guess, because how else would this be happening? But also the screen just kind of abruptly goes black, and then we get this. It's really strange. Because the other dream sequences, for the most part, are integrated where you don't know it's a dream sequence until the big thing happens, and then you're like, oh, it's a dream.
It's also important to note that this is the first real action scene we've had since the stuff in the Middle East at the beginning.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
That's... You know, I wouldn't necessarily have an issue. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with that.
It's just counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's also a dream, so this technically isn't even really an action sequence.
Well, no, it is. I think it's important to note that, we keep calling it a dream. For Batman, it is. He thinks he doesn't think that's what it is. He buys into it wholesale, even though he has other dreams, right? Like he's able to somehow or rather know to take stock in this one because a guy tells him to take stock in it.
Yeah.
That also could be part of the hallucination or the dream or whatever it is. But I think it's important to note that this is probably supposed to be an alternate future that, in a hero's sort of way, we're trying to prevent from happening.
Yeah.
Like I've heard a lot of people, you and other people, talk about this as a dream sequence. I think it's important to note that there are dream sequences, and then there's this thing which is more complicated than that.
Yeah, this is both potentially the future, but then it is a dream given to Batman of the future, I guess, or maybe it's I don't know. Yeah, it is. It's more complicated. I don't know if he's like a fly on the wall, or if he's being put in, because the way it's shot, we're given a perspective like the Batman that wakes up is the same Batman who's here. Yeah. Okay, this just... See, like, this is so crazy. Like, I would have much preferred we just get to see the Flash's costume here instead of this weird, like, robo suit. And the audience, if you're an audience member, you will not know what is going on. Like, if you don't know Flash, like, this is so crazy out there for people that are not familiar with comics. It's like, I don't know. And this is strange here. You're right about him. Fear him. Fear him.
Yeah, why is he saying fear him? That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, you have to find us, fear him. I guess it's just in a really melodramatic way, just driving the point home that, like, he's going... I don't know. Open the movie with that!
Okay, here's what's really strange about it, too.
Can I make that case? Can I kind of make that case, maybe, Rasco?
That you would open the movie with this scene?
Kind of open the movie with that.
That would work better. I agree.
Because then Batman has a much better reason to be like, I don't want to rewrite the movie. I mean, like, he's got obviously different reasons for that than being as cold as he is, and he's already gotten to this place of thinking that Superman is, really scary and needs to be taken down and is a monster. But I still don't quite buy that he's that far gone with that. But I'm just saying that, like, that should be his motivation for saying, if there is, like, his prime motivation for saying, we have to take him down. Although I guess then it sort of is.
Yeah.
But it's weird because
he's kind of...
Well, I guess my question is, would he be doing all of this
Were it not for
regardless?
that, were it not for that dream. That's what's confusing about it. Also, here's what's really
I
strange.
just
When
want
we
to
get
know how it
the end
plays
of
into
this
his
movie.
motivation. I mean, this movie is just breaking me right now. Like, it's my brain is falling out of my face.
My brain is collapsing in on itself.
Sorry, go ahead.
When we get to the end, Batman. So he's like, "You're right about him. You've always been right about him." Okay, so by the end of this movie, we take away that Batman is wrong about Superman. And like, at least I guess Bruce feels that way, maybe, but it's strange because I don't know what Bruce took away from that vision and then what he takes away from Superman's sacrifice at the end. Because Superman or Batman does do what Flash tells him to do, which was find us, Bruce, find us. And he's like, help me find the rest, bring him together. But then he's like changed and he's like, no, Superman is this perfect martyr hero, like who saved us. Like, it's weird. Like, I don't know if they understand that that's kind of contradictory because like he's kind of listening to half of what Flash told him in that vision, but not the full thing that he told him to
Yeah,
feel.
and then obviously the movies from here on are probably just going to ignore that. I mean, is the idea supposed to be that because of what Batman and not that I buy this, but that because of what Batman and Superman go through at the end, then it changes Superman, and that's why he sacrifices himself, and he wouldn't have done that? I don't even know.
What's I don't very Oh, this is new.
Yeah, it's just he's still investigating Batman.
Troy.
I do really like the idea that that Bruce Wayne, as opposed to Batman, has a personal beef with Superman, and the same thing goes for Clark Kent the other direction. And this
Yeah,
drives that home more, and I like that. The Gothamville Slugger thing there is awesome, and I want
Was
that.
really, yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
Okay.
It just feels like what we just saw with the Flash. It seems like the natural place for that to go. Well, first of all, the natural thing should be for Batman to be like, "Wow, I need to like lay off of something or get more sleep."
Yeah.
Because he shouldn't immediately think that was anything. But also, I just feel like. Sorry, we're watching this. We're watching the scene. I just feel like it would make a lot of sense if he was trying to, prevent the future. I guess that's sort of what he's doing.
Yeah. Also, does Batman know that his brand pretty much is a death sentence?
And he just doesn't mind. He just doesn't care about
Yeah, because that's an important thing. We need to know what Batman thinks that means.
Yeah.
It's strange because, like, I guess one of the biggest issues with this movie is it's like, does Batman not see the giant hypocrisy of a guy like him who is so above the law? He has unlimited amounts of money. He can do whatever he wants. He can decide who lives and who dies. And he does that. And then Superman, and that's his worry of, like, Superman. Like, Superman's so powerful, he can decide anything that he wants on a whim. But it's like, does he not see the utter hypocrisy? You were Superman, Batman, until Superman showed up, and now you're second to Superman.
Yeah,
and it makes the argument feel really petty.
Well, and because that's not what the movie is ultimately seems to be about. Like, I don't know that he's learning that lesson at the end. Like
Yeah.
if he was so far gone where he got like that cold and couldn't see the forest for the trees, and that was what his character arc was about. Like, that's like he had to come back from that. Okay, but he comes back from that in a really superficial way at the end.
Yeah. And it's strange because these scenes only bring up that hypocrisy a little bit more. These extended scenes that we've gotten of Clark investigating Batman, that's kind of just driven the point of missed potential home even more.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't mind the fact that he's hypocritical. This is a Batman who's not the way he's supposed to be, and I mean that's supposed to be the point of it. But he comes back from it, kind of in a really fast, easy way at the end. Especially for a movie that's this long and has such a drawn out opening.
Yeah. So, this scene happens. Oh, there was the Wilhelm scream.
Oh yeah, it was.
So this scene, like,
I'm so
from
stuck on this future thing right now. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so like this is a scene where we get Batman, and I mean, clearly a lot of these people are dying, and so I guess this is like one. And here's the thing: this is what is weird. We haven't seen Batman like really be Batman prior to that vision. So is it possible this is the first time we see Batman killing people? Like this is the first time he's gone out and just started killing people.
That's an interesting argument.
And I have this issue with this movie where we need to know that. Like I said, we need to know how average people of the world feel about Superman. We also need to know what Batman thinks about himself, and we don't get enough of that.
Yeah, he basically says, "No, Alfred, this is the way I've always been."
Yeah.
Or maybe even this is kind of the natural course of doing what we do. Although he also has that line about other vigilantes that he's worked with that have gone bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how exactly he feels about himself right now.
Yeah. It's just it's a lack of context in a lot of ways. Like, and it's weird because that's not even just in the characters, that's in the way this movie's shot. Like, we don't get enough context in the theatrical cut, at least for like, and we haven't gotten enough of it here, of like where we are in relation to, like, we don't get any establishing shots in this movie for the most part. We do get a few, but we don't get many establishing shots. So there's a lack of context as to like where people are in certain cases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's weird because that goes from the way this movie is directed all the way down to the characters and the story.
Once again, credit to Snyder. This all looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at things that clearly have to be CG, but not in the way where I'm like, oh, see, I can tell that's CG. Like I don't mind it because it's pretty well integrated.
Yeah. Connor, I talked to Connor about this, and Connor, I think it was Connor who said this. Snyder, in his mind, I feel like Snyder knows what is happening, so he's able to make it feel like they don't feel disjointed at all.
Yeah.
Like, what is there? The CG has weight to it, and people and things
Superman's
react.
just waiting for him? Is he just standing there waiting for? Does he know where the car is gonna show up? I'm confused.
It was an accident.
I mean, is that the building he was headed for? I don't think it was.
Yeah. What if that crash killed
He was
Batman?
just going to the boat, right?
I guess.
So why is Superman waiting for him?
Yeah. Also, Batman put the tracker on the truck, so he didn't really need to chase them if he's just gonna go. If he's just gonna go steal it afterwards. But I guess the mindset was, I really want to get this kryptonite right now, but I don't know if I will be able to, so I'm just gonna track it in case. And that's a very Batman thing. Like, haha, I tracked it already, so even though I failed, but it's kind of funny because it feels like it would have been much less of a hassle to do what he winds up doing by just going to steal it from LexCorp.
So is this a purple prosy melodrama or not, Rasco? I mean, when he says consider this mercy, I'm like, no, that's a Frank Miller thing. Like, even this Superman doesn't talk like that.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from. Like, it's like Superman is suddenly, it's like he spent 6 seconds with Batman and now he's acting like Batman.
I think the logic is like, Clark has now seen the bad things that come from Batman being Batman in this universe. He's seen how Batman acts as the movie puts it, judge, jury, and executioner, and so he's kind of like mad at Batman, and he's just like,
no, I get that. I'm just talking about the word choice. It doesn't seem like a thing he would say. I mean, maybe the idea is supposed to be, because we have that, we didn't talk about it, but we had that line early on where he seems to be kind of shirking responsibility and he cares just about Lois. Of course, that's a big thing. Yeah. And he's maybe like he doesn't want to think this about himself. And I think it's important, by the way, that he's investigating Batman as Clark Kent. That he's like I'm a concerned citizen. I'm just a person. But then also he has this attitude of I'm a god and the rules don't apply to me, and so maybe that's where that comes from. If he's like dancing around the version of Superman he would eventually, turn into when he becomes what's essentially the Injustice Superman.
Yeah, and that's a kind of a weird thing where, like, I don't know if we're supposed to see this Superman as a Superman that's kind of askew from what Superman needs to be, whereas, like, we have that with this Batman. Like, this is a Batman that's no longer, he's not about justice at this point. And I wonder if Snyder said if this Superman is also not totally wrapped his head around the idea of justice and what is right, what he can do with his power, who he needs to be. But it's strange because it feels like we had a whole movie, Man of Steel, trying to establish what that was.
Yeah, and obviously the main theme of this movie is supposed to be trying to decide, what good and right are even, and whether or not there is, a clear definition of that even. Mm-hmm. Like we're in that much of a gray area in this movie.
Yeah.
And of course that's what the Senator's
was this shot in the theatrical cut? Because I knew this was in the trailer, but I wondered if that specific thing right there was in the theatrical cut. And that was random. Of Luthor looking at the kryptonite.
I guess it was just important for some reason right then that we knew that he had it.
Which we already saw him get the truck, so
yeah,
he had it.
But now we're seeing him react to having it. A big giant chunk of kryptonite.
Yeah. So this is a interesting conversation, and it's kind of like the Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel doesn't feel like the same Jonathan Kent necessarily in the dream sequence that we have.
Another dream sequence, and this time for Superman, and I don't know how that even happens, but okay.
Yeah, and this is also
Did
new.
he bring mushrooms with him? I don't know.
He went on a spiritual journey.
Yeah, he was going on an existential quest to find himself.
So I'm confused. So that guy is talking. The KG Beast is talking to that guy who also spoke to Clark, and I guess is he talking about Batman? I don't know.
How are we supposed to keep all these subplots straight? These scenes go by so quickly, and we just jump in. And I guess it's supposed to be because it's linear, and this is when they're happening. But I don't know why I'm even supposed to. Oh, okay. So at least that was a setup for that part.
CIA. Okay, this is confusing me. This is what happens when you watch added scenes.
It's a big conspiracy plot.
Yeah.
Rasco, don't you understand?
Yeah.
I like that that this guy, I'm trying to remember his name. That's Swanwick. I like that he comes back and kind of gets something to do.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, just to keep the continuity building of a cinematic universe. Just having things like this, it's the point of doing a cinematic universe. I got the sense from the way Snyder and other people were talking about this movie while they were making it that we were going to kind of ignore Man of Steel completely. And I was really surprised by how much of a direct sequel to that this was, which is, I think, one of the reasons that I enjoyed it a lot more on a first viewing. Especially because compared to Man of Steel, while I was looking at it with a fine-tooth comb, at least the first, 45 minutes to an hour, it kind of felt like scenes were actually following each other better than they did in that movie. I mean, like, all I could do was compare it to that. Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know if I was right about that.
So, This is the part where Batman learns that, or Bruce Wayne, same person. This is the part where
same person.
This is the part where he learns that. Wait a second. Did they shorten that scene? Because doesn't he right there go like, wasn't he getting our checks or something like that?
I thought. Well, I don't think they've shortened it. I think they've interrupted it, and we're gonna go back to it.
Oh,
is my guess, because we keep interrupting things.
Who is that woman? I'm just still confused about the significance of that woman.
Well, we're talking.
Yeah.
So far, none of this really feels all that necessary, but or like enlightening.
Yeah. Um, I'm
But
interested
again,
if
it's
they.
tough because we're talking over it. So I mean, obviously, before you know, if we ever talk about this again, before that, besides rewind, before that happens, obviously, I'll sit down and watch this without rambling.
Hmm. So I'm confused about this whole scene as well. Okay, if Lex Luthor is here, and then the meeting starts and Lex Luthor's not there, wouldn't that make him like a suspect in this bombing? That like he was there and then he was the only one who was supposed to be in the meet. He has a seat with his name and
Yes.
he's not there. Like there's got to be footage of him leaving the building. I mean, doesn't there have to be some sort of like suspicion about like who caused the bombing? Was it Lex Luthor? You know, like it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. I think that would totally happen. One of the things that I love about the signs that the people are holding up is that one like the word alien on one of the signs is in the font from the movie Aliens.
Oh, that's awesome. Only you would notice that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe other Alien fans noticed. I did not notice that. That's cool.
It's funny. It's just the word aliens. It's like it says something about like Earth doesn't welcome aliens or something like that and like the word is in it's in the aliens font. It's awesome. Okay, so here's this woman again. I'm trying to figure out. So like, she was a much more prevalent figure in this version of the film, or she is. Oh,
Clearly, unless this turns out to just be a bunch of setup for a thing that we didn't need setup for.
oh, wonder what's gonna happen here. Is Frank Underwood?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Somehow or rather, I knew Frank Underwood was going to come up at some point during this commentary. I don't know why. I just knew that was going to happen.
There it is. See, aliens are un-American. That was it. I like that guy to the left of Lois.
The guy with the mohawk,
Yeah.
who's got an alien drawn on the side of his face.
Yeah.
It's like Superman looks like you guys.
Yeah, that's just
Is
inaccurate.
It's just no. I get it. It's okay.
Aw, man, I love like the thing about the Man of Steel suit in the thing about this Superman suit is in the first movie, like it doesn't get to be shown like this with the colors being as vibrant as they look here. Like
Yeah, it's
this just
actually a
looks
really good
better.
suit. Can I just throw that out there? It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I like it as well. The only thing I would add is I would add a little bit more of a belt to it. He has like this kind of feather-looking
I
weird
think if
thing.
you're not gonna have the red shorts, you have to have more of a belt.
Yeah, that because they keep that with Batman's suit in this, but he doesn't have like a really defined belt, and that's the only thing that I would change about it. Other than that, I like the suit, and that was another thing about Man of Steel. The suit, it just doesn't get to look like as bright and colorful. It just looks so much better here.
And also make that belt yellow.
Yeah. See, Lex is the only
Yeah,
one
he's
not
just
here.
not there.
Wonder
And
who blew up the building.
I have put way too much thought into this, and I still have made have covered no ground whatsoever in figuring this out. What? Like I feel like an idiot not getting thematic things this or like you know subtle nuanced if they are like metaphors and things in this movie. What point is Lex making with the T there?
You know, and this may sound.
And I realize it's not T, but what point is he making?
I don't know. See, the thing is, and this is true. Like, you can't argue this about Snyder. If you've ever watched his commentary for something, he does a lot of things because they're cool. Like, he'll say,
Yeah.
I did that because it's cool. I wonder if this is a thing that was just like, he threw this in there, like, oh, that's cool. So,
I feel really dense by not immediately understanding because that's a payoff to a thing, and I don't know what is that. See, she looks almost like she knows that something is about to happen. Like somehow or rather, the air quote T plus Lex not being there equals we're all gonna die.
yeah. So this was really shocking in the theater.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow. And I don't know, this is obviously something that just I feel for Superman right here because
Yeah.
it's just like regardless of whether or not people put it together, this is one of those things where we live in a world where, on the news there's so much like everyone's got an opinion about everything, and you see all these different conflicting opinions, and oftentimes like the serious conversation gets muddled by all of this like pettifogging in the media, and like this just adds to this sense of potential distrust against Superman. Whether or not people are like Superman did it, there's going to be a moment in everyone's heads where Superman just did that.
Isn't it convenient that Bruce is just now getting the note from that guy and piecing all those notes together as he blows himself up?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Unless there was a correlation that I'm not remembering.
This right here is new.
Yeah. And again, I like how... I mean, it's still somewhat muted, but I like that we get to see the colors.
Yeah. If anything, it actually is... like with some of the colors...
This is good. We needed this.
Yeah, this actually adds a lot more context of
Superman
what
is
people think happened.
Because
also.
of course, well, and not just what they think happened, but any way you slice it, it would be very difficult not to blame yourself.
Yeah.
If you were Superman, because this wouldn't have happened if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't know exactly who did that or why, and I think there are assumptions characters make a lot in this movie that they shouldn't, but I also think that there are assumptions the movie is making about what I'm taking from it that it's not, so I can never be sure about that.
Whoa. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, or Captain Kirk in Star Trek Generations. he's in the Nexus.
Oh,
that's Alfred in the Nexus! He's gonna be riding horses pretty soon with Patrick Stewart!
Oh my god. So, obviously this is new.
But all I was gonna say is, he's gotta know, obviously, that what just happened was because he was there.
Yeah. Oh.
And now Superman's gonna fly off and be all broody and...
Yeah. And see, like, that's what this is a good scene as well, because I love that line. Initially, he was here carrying victims out of the blast, but now he's disappeared.
Yeah, now he's refusing to be Superman.
And like, that works for that, as well as,
now,
like...
Now, I said he's gonna be all broody, like I'm, completely disparaging that. He's gotta be super conflicted.
Yeah.
Because he'd be like, well, what's gonna happen just because I'm there?
And, okay, come to think of it, what did Batman do here? Like, what is going on outside? Like, the windows of the door? Like, the glass... Okay.
Whoa. That was cool.
That was awesome.
Look at the deflated basketball.
Oh, that's... Yeah.
It's a great little detail.
Yeah. That's Lex's motivation for not liking Batman.
He ruined his basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah, but he planned all of this for months before.
He likes the way they dribble up and down the
court.
Well,
actually, he doesn't have a problem with Batman. He just wants Batman to kill Superman.
Yeah. Haha, Lex, it was me.
It was me.
I don't know, like, in the theatrical cut, you don't get to see that camera footage, so...
Yeah.
I always was like, well, why would Batman let Lex know that he stole that?
Just that little bit of Superman trying to help people, I think is maybe we need more of stuff, but it's good fuel for the argument that Superman actually doesn't only care about Lois and would happily let everyone die.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know what doing good means. Even he's.
Yeah, it's a thing where
he's so unsure of his own convictions.
Yeah, and I imagine he has to feel as if, is he a burden on the earth? Like, he's here and he's trying to help and he's doing everything he can, but I mean, he's kind of putting a burden on a lot of other people, and that there is a
And if people aren't behind him,
yeah,
if people don't trust him and they're not behind what he's doing, then isn't he just causing more problems than he's solving? And then it turns into the Batman question.
mm-hmm.
Which is interesting if you're going to put them together like this.
Yeah, and yeah, actually, and that's a thing where like, oh, what's also interesting about that is like he has caused other people to die, and he's investigating a guy who's going around being judge, jury, executioner, as like it was put earlier in the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's almost, in a way, he feels like without trying to be Batman, he's kind of doing the same thing Batman is doing in a way.
Yeah, and it could, maybe I'm stretching, but it could even be a little bit of that same question with Captain America and Winter Soldier, where like maybe I'm too late for the way the world is.
Mm-hmm.
We're like what my ideals and what I would like to, this the symbol I'd like to be and the example I'd like to set. Like maybe people are too far gone and I can't set that example.
Yeah. And you get that stuff with the every act is a political act and that kind of idea is raised earlier on, because it's like it's too complicated of a world for there to be a guy who just says he stands for truth, justice, and the American way. Because for a lot of Americans, there's two different American ways. Like,
people aren't believing that there even is a universal truth.
Yeah.
Or universal good, or all of those terms are malleable and based on just who you are. And
that was a scene where I wonder if we'll get another scene of Lex in that room, because I always assumed that in this cut of the film we'd get a little bit more as to why Lex knows how Doomsday can be created.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And stuff like that. That was that specific shot right there new? Like just a little computer screen? I don't know.
Okay, explain something to me, because I've never understood it. Why do people complain and make fun of this stuff so much? Of Bruce training with his shirt off in the Batcave? Like, that's all I heard about after this movie came out, and I don't understand what the problem is.
I don't know, really. I mean, I don't really have an issue with that. I mean,
I just wouldn't have even thought to complain about it. I don't know what the deal is.
I might as well point this out, not that this is a complaint, but
yeah,
he doesn't have a shirt on. More people doing things in their lives with no shirts on.
Yeah,
just throwing it out.
I mean, there's that. I don't think it was people making fun of it just because he didn't have a shirt on. It was just something about like his training in the Batcave is weird and wrong, and I don't understand what they're talking about.
Yeah. That was an issue when this movie came out. I feel like a lot of reviewers said how terrible, like in the early reviews, this is not necessarily, I'm not saying that this is how I feel, but I'm saying that with the early reviews, there were a lot of people that just destroyed this movie. They just raked it over the coals. But I don't think that they gave good enough reasons for why they thought the movie was bad. I think that that's an issue that Fantastic Four had, where I don't think people accurately depicted why that movie didn't work.
Yeah, they're just not communicating.
Yeah. And I feel like the discussion is more important than the consensus on the movie. Like,
no, I think so too. Well, maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe it's that those were the things that bothered them, and they really did think that's why the movie was bad. But you got to wonder, and I'm not saying that my opinion is the only opinion, but like for me and a whole lot of people, I don't know. It's a pretty clunky, difficult to read movie where motivations are kind of all over the place, and all you have to do is go to convoluted and doesn't make sense before you go to taste issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So we don't get anything explaining this more, I guess.
Okay.
You just
unless you get more of an explanation, like because this lingers somehow, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is a lot of people's issues and even anger with this movie are taste issues I don't have. Like I said, I don't mind Lex's performance, and a lot of the super crazy over the top stuff is fun to me. Like in a totally subjective way. There's a lot about this movie that's fun to watch for me, or was the first time I saw it. Anyway, but didn't hold up as much. Certainly the second time around on even just a fun factor.
Yeah.
And
like
now I'm starting to understand why people are saying that it's boring, but that's just because I'm watching this longer cut with a bunch of, added scenes that I don't know are really even telling us enough. But there's some of that stuff really should have stayed there.
Yeah, there was some of that stuff in the very beginning, like I said, like with that whole, I really did like that thing or that scene where we saw Clark walk out on the boat, I think it was, and he looked across the sea at Gotham, like that I liked. I think that maybe it would have made more sense for them to include those scenes in the beginning of Superman, when they were in Africa with the bodies being piled up and burned. But like again, like I said, that's still not a good enough explanation of why people think Superman killed people there, in my mind.
The whole was Superman involved thing. Do you think that's how that would go down? I'm just asking questions. I don't know. Like, if you had all those powers, why would you be part of a giant conspiracy and then pretend like you're helping people?
I don't know. I mean,
maybe the idea is just they don't trust him. They don't know what his angle is.
This shot at least is new, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's not. Oh, you're talking about... Yeah. I think you might be a second ahead of me. Yeah, I don't remember this. Something about Superman in snow. We really like putting Superman in snow. I mean, I guess it's because he's got his Forces of Solitude. But then he doesn't in here, and we put him back in the snow again.
Okay, Snyder's broken the rule. She has clothes on, and this is a mundane life scene, so he broke the rule.
Oh, okay. So either she's not a nudist or she's about to go somewhere.
Yeah.
She might be on her way out of the house.
Another good shot that establishes, because I don't think this shot was in the theatrical cut, just established that Gotham and Metropolis are not the same city, that they're across the pond.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like 5 seconds. There's really no reason not to leave that in there.
Yeah, like, and I don't know, like, yeah, like that stuff like that. It's just small things that really add to just basic filmmaking technique of like establishing things like that. I don't know, it just works.
See, now she's investigating, so obviously she had clothes on because she was about to leave the house.
Yes. So she still might be.
I think we're onto something with this nudist theory.
We'll see if it continues on into Justice League.
I do. I think they have a standing rule at home where you at least can't. You at least have to have your shirt off. Pants are optional.
Something that I always felt was kind of strange, and I felt that this is a thing with Man of Steel, not in so much this movie, but it is kind of strange to not have a Fortress of Solitude that like is around, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of gone now.
Yeah, it flew off.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of the Fortress of Solitude as a crashed spaceship I thought was a cool idea, but then it flies off.
Yeah. Okay, this is funny. Why would Lex Luthor
That's a fun line. Everywhere Superman goes, Luthor wants death.
Oh, the chair was lined with lead, so that's why Superman didn't see...
Oh!
Okay,
well, that's a thing people have complained about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there we go. There's at least one really solid, like, scene that's put back in that explains something that people have complained about. So that's good.
But here's the thing that's stupid about that.
Uh-oh.
Why would Lex Luthor make his bullets out of a metal that only he has? Because, like, that's how they're like, oh, this is Luthor's metal. If you're trying to, like, make this big conspiracy thing, why would you use a specific bullet that only you possess the metal for? Like,
yeah, and I love how, I guess, the cops didn't investigate it as hard as Lois Lane is.
Yeah. Oh, wait a second.
You always have to do this thing where the cops are incompetent. Like, we do this in superhero things anyway, where the cops are incompetent so that the superheroes can, like, you know, save the day. But also we have to make them incompetent so that Lois Lane can have, like, a Woodward and Bernstein moment.
Yeah. This is a Nexus scene. This is also from Star Trek Generation.
Yes, he also went into the Nexus. You know what? That might explain a lot of things about this movie.
Yeah.
If actually all the dream sequences and maybe even other scenes that we think are in the real world that aren't are just all these people being sucked up into a bliss-inducing force field.
Your grandma baked me a cake.
Yeah, suddenly he has an accent he didn't have before. I've made this point before, but it's hilarious. I mean, like, Jonathan seems to have grown up and then worked on a farm that is somehow or rather trapped in, like, the 1930s.
Yeah. Okay, here's
one thing.
It's
a really contrived scenario.
I don't like this dream scene, but here's something I do kind of like about this conversation. He's talking about how, you know, they saved the farm and they were expecting a hero cake, and while they were eating their hero cake, something else went wrong. Yeah. And I kind of like that because it's like Superman expected everyone to just be like, "Oh, he's our hero. What a great guy. It's Superman." And he now kind of understands that was potentially foolish of him. Like, what was he expecting?
Well,
this
yeah,
all-powerful God.
The metaphor is obvious. I mean, it was it wasn't just that. It's the larger ramifications of your actions.
Yeah.
Where there's a domino effect. You do a thing that seems to have saved the day, but then you know, you're limited in that you can't know what, you know, you're so powerful that you can't know how what you do is going to affect everything. You know, butterfly effect. Yeah, the metaphor is clear. The problem with it is, A, that's a really contrived scenario, but more than that, it's exposition in a dream sequence that a person is like, did that actually happen? Is this something Clark knew about and is in his mind being told the story again?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And people like that's a cheap TV trick.
Yeah, and
you know, that's a thing. Like Arrow did first or second season that drove me. I think it was second season that drove me crazy. Where like Three Ghosts was really cool and all, but people on TV shows will just hallucinate outside of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't do that.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Just because it's a TV thing, it's just I'm hallucinating a dead person. You know, like that was Smallville stuff, and I say that like literally small. They did that with Jonathan Kent in Smallville.
Yeah.
You know, where he just like shows up and starts talking to Clark, and it's like it has to actually be his real ghost or be playing out in his mind. You just have to make it really clear that it's not an actual hallucination and that he's daydreaming. People daydream, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what was that? I don't know. And in a movie, again, where Flash comes to the past and says, you're right about Superman, he's an evil, scary person.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways to do dream sequences. I point to James Cameron. I mean, Terminator 2's got a great dream sequence, and also Aliens has a great dream sequence that literally sets up Ripley's motivations in that movie. Like, her entire motivation for why she does what she does in that movie is set up by a dream sequence. And, like, you can use dream sequences to do a lot of things that you couldn't do in the real world per se, but like in the real world within the film. But like it just feels like a crutch with Snyder in this movie. Like, okay, you need to get an idea across, dream sequence.
Okay, I'm gonna throw something out there. I think this movie is in 3 acts, and I think the second act is 10 minutes long.
The dream? Or the vision?
No, the second act is... Well, no, maybe you're right. Maybe it is, because I was going to say maybe the whole air quote second act is the Senate hearing or whatever that is. Mm-hmm. But is it a Senate hearing? Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah.
And that explosion, but then that sounds sort of like a first plot point. So I don't know if we totally skipped the second act.
If I were to
Which is funny because Eric and other people always said that part of the problem with Man of Steel is that it has no middle act.
It's kind of weird. Okay, this is really weird. So, like... Wait, I'm confused now. Has Lois seen this guy before? Because in the theatrical cut, this plays really weird, where, like, he's there doing his thing, and then she walks. Okay, and then she like goes up to him and asks him who he is, and then does he like kidnap her here in this scene?
This is the easiest universe in the world to sneak up on people.
Yeah, like there are other people. Like there are people that like are that just walked away. Like okay, I guess, I mean, this does not happen in the theatrical cut, right?
Yeah, it does.
I know that like, see, there was something weird about that where I don't think that happened. I think in the theatrical cut, she walks up to him, he turns around, and then she reacts, and then it cuts away.
Oh, really?
To this, I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive. Because I remember that was something in my head where, after I watched that movie, that was one of the things where I was like, that was so weird. Like, why? Like, obviously he kidnapped her, but in the theatrical cut, like, she's in the middle of a public place. He's a janitor, and I don't think you see that guy come up behind her. And so it felt really weird. Like, how did he kidnap her in public like that? But I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
So, Rasco, I just want to point out that we've been watching this movie for 1 hour and 52 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just feel like for a 3-hour movie, we could have spent a whole lot of time examining the difference in Batman and Superman's worldviews, and that might have been really interesting.
Yeah. Instead, we
now,
got
the thing we were talking about earlier with
the Luthor conspiracy.
With their like there is more, either more in this cut, or I'm just noticing more of it, of like each of them hating the other one because they're seeing too much of themselves in that person. I like that.
Yeah.
But it's not enough of the crux of the movie.
Yeah. It is strange because like all of you get distracted by a lot of things. Like all of this with Clark investigating, that's kind of distracting in a lot of ways, but because you then go off on to see that guy in prison get stabbed and stuff like that, and I'm like, do you really need, I understand why that was cut, seeing that guy get murdered in jail.
Yeah.
Like, because in the theatrical cut, you see the pictures of the guy and he's dead, and you get the judge, jury, executioner. You don't need that.
No, you don't. And there's a whole bunch of that in this version, right? Like,
yeah. Like, I'm curious to know if they believe that this is the best cut of the film, or if, like, in their own, like, or if this is just the cut of the film, like, kind of like the Rogue cut, where the Rogue cut's not, like, a better version of Days of Future Past. It's just a different version.
I feel like the way they're spinning it's a lot better. Mm-hmm. And especially because, you know, you had all those tweets going back and forth between it's better, it's worse, it's better, it's worse, from the director of photography.
Yeah.
And all of that, like I think, I mean, this cut was always going to come out, but I feel like they might have, I don't know this for sure, I think they might have rushed it digitally like this and made a much bigger deal out of it because they're trying to make it feel relevant again and trying to, like, you know, fix public opinion by saying, no, there's this longer version that explains more stuff. Because here's the thing, it does explain more stuff, but isn't it stuff that needed an explanation? Most of it not.
Yeah.
It's like it can't decide how explicit it wants to be about things. And that's been a big problem with a lot of these movies in the last few years. I had that with Rises, but with, in a very, it's very different. But Man of Steel has that problem too.
So these are scenes with Lex Luthor where he says interesting things. Right here, I can see the performance maybe getting a little bit kind of out there, but
yeah.
And something that I was expecting in this cut of the movie that is not here, I was expecting his plan to be fleshed out a lot more, Lex Luthor's plan.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, it's not. I still don't know how he figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman months before.
Yeah.
He seems to know that already.
And so Lex Luthor wants Superman to go fight Batman because here's where things really stop making sense.
Yeah.
Batman has the kryptonite only because Lex Luthor had it stolen from him. But so much of Lex Luthor's plan seems as if like it almost is like he knew that he was going to get the kryptonite stolen from him, and that Batman was going to wind up with the kryptonite. Because otherwise, why else would he be? Why else would he have been intercepting the checks from Bruce Wayne or like to that guy who lost his legs?
Yeah.
If not, at some point in his mind, he wanted Batman and Superman to fight, but like he didn't. Batman would never have been able to fight Superman without the kryptonite, and Lex Luthor didn't want his kryptonite stolen, obviously.
Yeah. So it's one of those villain machination plots where it's hard not to think that we're supposed to just look back and assume that everything that happens he had planned all along.
Yeah.
Even if there's no possible way he could have known what all of the responses would be to each of his actions.
Yeah.
And he also, as you said, seems to be trying to stop certain things from happening that he wants to happen.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't think that this will be addressed in this cut of the film. So, Superman is expected to go and bring Lex the head of the bat, as he puts it.
Uh-huh.
But he also thinks that Batman can kill Superman because he has the kryptonite. But he also makes Doomsday. But if Batman killed Superman, Doomsday would just be there for no reason.
I think the idea is supposed to be that he makes Doomsday just in case, and that he can, like, start that or not start that, so, like, he could just leave him in stasis.
We'll have to pay attention when
It's
he
like
gets
a
to the
rainy.
scene where
I remember
Doomsday...
thinking it was supposed to be like a rainy day monster.
I don't know, because when we get to that scene, it really just seems like Doomsday is being, like... It's like he's, like, cooking. He's, like, in an oven, and he's like, oh, it's almost ready. But I'm not sure. I wonder, is this specific scene new?
It looks new. Or maybe not. No, it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not important.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter if it is or not.
Got this big M60 pointed at this old lady's head in case she tries to make a move.
We need to establish that she's in this room and exactly what it looks like, even though we've seen pictures. And of course, we've got our typical ticking time bomb. 34 minutes before the actual end of the movie, because that's supposed to be impressive, even though that's probably also counting credits.
See, why is that girl not Jimmy Olsen? Like, that's all you needed to do to avoid the criticism of, why is Jimmy Olsen, like...
Well, then you'd have, you know, the complaints that you turned Jimmy Olsen into a girl, but you had that with Man of Steel, and that seems like a thing that they went back on.
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
I'm almost positive that they initially intended her to be Jimmy Olsen, and they did the Ninja Turtles thing where people fought back against it before the movie came out, so they changed it.
Yeah.
And by changed it, I mean just made sure that her last name was never mentioned and that in the credits it doesn't say Olsen. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she's a photographer.
And so, like, right here, everyone talks about, like, why doesn't Superman just go looking for his mother here? Like, instead of going to Batman and trying to, like, get him to help.
Well, it's because if he doesn't... It's because Lex knows what he's doing, and if he doesn't fight Batman, he might kill his mom.
But does Lex know? Like, what does Lex know that he's doing at this exact moment, though? Like... You know what I mean? Like, because Batman just goes and beats up a bunch of guys.
Okay, but
and
what would
saves his mom.
But what would he do if he found her?
What would Luthor do if he found?
No, what would Superman do if he found her?
If he found his mom, just fly in and save her, like Batman does.
Well, yeah, I guess that's because then it's not like he's got leverage for that. Wow, this movie is turning me into a stupid person.
Yeah, like he could have just bypassed getting Batman and just gone and found his mom, because what he does is he just lets Batman go and find his mom in a minute after they fight. It is you. How he like capitalizes that.
And then all of this, you know, messes with your ticking time bomb and everything, because this is like an interlude. We've stopped everything to deal with Justice League stuff.
Yeah.
Which is
she clicks on the third one from the left. Why didn't she start?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because she's teasing the audience, I guess. Because we need to watch Flash get some milk.
See his long like ponytail. Like I really am wondering like what Barry like. I'm interested to see like if Barry Allen was supposed to be like a bum before he becomes the Flash or something like that. Like I'm just curious because he just looks kind of sloppy there.
Yeah, we're trying so hard to make all this feel relevant to this story,
Yeah.
to
And
feel it, but not to actually make it relevant to this story.
you want to know what
And again,
I
now
wanted
that
to
we know
yell?
now that we know a lot about the plot of Justice League and that it deals with the mother boxes and one in each of these different places that are important to these characters, there's no reason to establish them here. There's no reason at all to set them up, except just to make a really big deal out of the fact that we're building a shared universe.
Yeah.
This is about nothing else but competing with Marvel.
Right there where Aquaman's looking at the camera for so long before he does anything. You
He's
want to know what I
used to
wanted to yell in the theater?
What's that?
What are you waiting for?
Oh yeah!
I
And
love
this
that the
this guy,
Dyson is his dad. That's awesome.
yeah, this guy was Dr. Hamilton in first season Smallville,
Oh.
or first and second season Smallville, and he was. It's kind of fun that that this is who he's playing in this movie because that guy was studying kryptonite and got kryptonite poisoning, and then was twitching out like crazy. I think that's who that is.
It's also it's just another cool little thing because like Cyborg is like a cyborg. Obviously, it's kind of like Skynet. He's kind of like he is in Terminator 2. You know.
Yeah, but explain to me how that counts as a metahuman.
I don't know. Well, see, because I don't know. It's a weird
It's
thing
just
where the
enhanced
mother
people,
box
but
was
then-
involved. So who I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping that whole theory thing makes sense later because we're acting like there's a correlation between all of them, including Kryptonians.
Yeah.
Or is it including Krypton? I don't even know. I don't want to think too much about it because I don't think this movie did.
Yeah. Okay. So right here, Superman. If you're going to Batman to get him to help you, the worst way to go about initiating this interaction is to do that, smashing down to the ground after like eyeing him down from the sky, and then immediately his demeanor changes. Bruce, please, and it can, like that's just, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry. That guy was Joe Morton, right?
I'm unfamiliar with the actor's name, but I just
Okay.
know that he's in Terminator 2.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's who that is. I didn't want to be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's who that is. He got a little older.
Yeah. Okay, explain.
Okay,
right
explain
here.
it, yeah.
Start talking.
Exactly.
Just start talking.
Yeah, why push him? That's the thing, and I've made that argument a million times, and I've argued with folks that have said, well, no, he does try to explain, and Batman won't talk to him. I'm like, no, why push him there?
Yeah, no, and like you can talk while
He just
you're
says you
walking
don't-
forward. Like,
Yeah, he just says you don't have time. There's no reason right now that he shouldn't be saying, look, Lex Luthor set all this up. Like, look at all this time he has.
yeah, just float up there. You know when you were staring
Lex Luthor
him
is playing us
down
both
from the
for
sky?
saps. It's all him. He's kidnapped my mom.
Yeah. And no, but it's ridiculous because he was just staring down Batman from the sky for like 30 seconds before they started fighting.
Just because it looks cool.
Yeah, no, just like talk to him, like start speaking.
If we had a scenario here where they each thought something else was going on, I mean, it would be your typical,
like right here, right here.
Yeah. It would be, but see, that's okay because at least we've evacuated the building.
Yeah.
But these, but you would still, of course, have your typical like misunderstanding just for the sake of a superhero fight. But we're so far beyond that. I would take that over this.
Yeah, and it's different where, like, when people, like, when you have a specific reason why, because he came there to convince Batman to help him. You know?
Also, I'm not in love with the line, if I wanted it, you'd be dead already, because part of what Superman is supposed to be learning in this movie is that he doesn't have complete control of what happens with his powers. And that he feels really bad because he can't control everything.
Yeah.
So, like, no, Superman, you don't know what that armor can handle. You could punch him too hard and he could be dead already.
Yeah.
And again, that's fine if he learns something from it, you know, if he's misguided or, you know, going, you know, become really extreme and has to learn something. Okay, but that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
And now they're... Well, Rasco, that's great, because now I know that we're totally in sync.
And see, like, this is kind of cool, but
yeah,
again...
see, I gotta tell you about the disconnect I have with this. This is a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah.
And also... I kind of just want to take all the action scenes in this movie, and even just scenes of people walking around and looking at things, and just make, like, 47 music videos.
Yeah. And the suit here, Batman's suit's all CG, I think, and it looks really good.
Looks really good. That impresses me so much.
Yeah. And Man of Steel had that too with Zod's armor. So.
With all the Kryptonians' armor, except for Feora. Hers was real. Mm. But it sometimes messes with acting. I think that the guy who played Zod, I forget his name right now, Michael Shannon. I think his performance is a little bit stilted because of it.
Yeah.
But it looks real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fantastic. It's not hurting Affleck's performance at all because he's just a mouth inside of a head.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem.
Yeah. Oh, and this is pretty cool right here.
It is.
Oh. Oh, that's...
Uh-oh, your kryptonite gas wore off. Uh-oh, what are you gonna do now? I love Batman putting his hand up. Wait a minute.
Why don't you explain why you came there?
Let's talk about this now. Come on, just backbreak him at this point.
Why don't you take his gun away off of his hip?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Kryptonite anymore, and then you can explain why you're there.
Why don't you rip his helmet off? At some point, this needs to become Deadpool, where these guys just look at the camera and say, "We know you're watching and you want to see this stuff." That's a better movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it still doesn't make sense, but it makes more sense than this.
And
I just feel like there are other things that, maybe I'm wrong, I feel like there are other things that happened in this fight that might have also broken his mask that much.
Probably. You know, yeah,
oh,
he took a pretty good face punch.
And we got everything plus the kitchen sink in this fight. all we need now is for Sam Jackson to walk in and say, "Toilets are always funny."
Yeah.
I feel like that was a prime, ripe moment for a one-liner from Affleck. I don't know what it would have been.
You're lucky this isn't a bathtub.
Now we're gonna go to the super corner.
Oh no, he's falling. Ah.
His line right before that is, "Now it's time for the third act of Phantom Menace."
And this really kind of bugs me. I'm not talking about the Martha line. That bugs me because of what Batman says right
That's
here.
a lovely shot. Can I just say that? The overhead view with his cape unfurled like that, that's cool.
Yeah, and it looks cool because the cape is red. It looks awesome.
That's why it looked, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And look, you can make a dark, like you know, scary, broody looking thing and still have color in it.
Yeah.
This movie would be so much less watchable if it also looked like Man of Steel.
Yeah, that's a big issue I had with Man of Steel. Like, that's why I don't like to watch that movie. I've seen that movie maybe 3 times just because it's so, for me to look at that movie, it just kind of depresses me. But and I like dark, gritty stuff. Like, that's like my kind of genre, honestly. Like, not genre, that's not a genre, but
yeah, but
I like that aesthetic. But this bugs me right here when Batman, he talks about how he's like, "I'm sure your parents taught you that you were something special, that you were here for a reason." And then Superman saying the name Martha reminds Batman of his mother, and then he connects that like, oh, this guy has a mom, but it's like
You just said that he did.
you just talked about it. Like you can't tell me that you haven't thought in your head, this guy I'm
You're
about
right,
to kill.
and that
he
makes
has
the
a
Martha
family
thing so
and
much
mother.
sillier because then he seems so superficial that it really is just because that's the name.
Yeah, and it like all it needed to be was like, oh man, this guy has a mom. Like I'm forgetting that this guy has every bit of the humanity that I have.
Honestly, if it wasn't for that line and just how incredibly melodramatic all this is, I kind of like the Martha thing.
Yeah, no, I'll say that. That was something that I always found interesting about Batman and Superman, that they have mothers with the name Martha.
Yeah, and that's
I
never
always
really
found that
been.
kind of
I don't think I've
interesting.
ever seen that used in anything.
I don't think I have either. And I like that he cut his cheek right there, though, because now he can say, you bled. Haha, you bled. Haha. I was right when I said you will.
It's such a weird thing to say. Do you bleed? You will. Assuming that I'm right about the answer to that first question. I could be wrong about that. Whether or not you bleed, you will bleed. I don't know. I get it, but he doesn't. Doesn't really know that. Anyway, but no, I love that Batman says, "Why did you say that name?" Because that's also my question. Why didn't you say that earlier? Why were you like, "He's got my mom"? And then like you could find some way to contrive it where it seems natural that he mentions the name. I guess like you could find some way to say that, but like the only I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh at that. Why did you say?
It's the angle that it's shot from with like Ben Affleck, like this
it's
low
so
angle.
funny, and I'm sorry, but it is to me. If because the thing is, Batman's got his foot on his throat, and Superman has waited this long to tell him what even the situation is, or very
Yeah.
much about it.
Yeah, and that's why it's inexcusable
I
that
think he mentions Luthor. I forget. I didn't notice it this time.
he might have said the name Luthor, but then it's immediately shut down. It's like
Yeah.
either one of the sound devices pop up or the guns pop up or something happens and then it interrupts him. But it's like you can't tell me that Superman was able to get that out about his mom while his throat was being stepped on, but he can't just talk to Bruce when
Yeah.
he first shows up like he was
Okay.
trying to do.
Okay, but can I throw something out there that I just thought of, and they didn't make this clear enough if this is what it's supposed to be? Is that the point of in this cut of all the Clark investigating stuff?
What exactly?
Is it that... Well, no, because it's not like he was investigating Bruce Wayne. He was just investigating Batman, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because the only thing I could figure is that, like, he gets his mask broken, and now he knows for sure that that's Bruce Wayne, and he knows that Bruce Wayne's mother's name is Martha, so he uses that as a calculated thing to say then.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's supposed to be it.
He has to know that
And
something's
now
up.
they're friends.
Yeah.
From now on, it's no problem. And Batman doesn't have a beef with him or an argument anymore at all. He's got to still like he can go help him and stuff and be like, oh, maybe there's more to him than I realized. But he's still got to be suspicious and unsure and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's what's so problematic about Superman dying in this is that we don't get a conversation between Batman and Superman. And that's something I think this movie needed towards the end. Like just this discussion between, and we might get that discussion in Justice League. But
Was that exchange in the theatrical cut? Because I like that. When he says, "You don't deserve me, Alfred."
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay. I didn't remember that. I like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in the theatrical cut.
And he's right. He doesn't deserve that, Alfred. That Alfred's awesome.
So Lois picks up the spear right there. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a problem later because I'm pretty sure she just doesn't have the spear. We need to pay attention to that because
So
she
now
picked
that
up
we're
the
just
spear
in
right
the
there.
crazy, not-so action territory, do I have permission to turn my brain off now? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I never like to do that, but I just, like...
Well, actually, I have some stuff
my
to say about this
cranium is
scene
about
right
to
here.
explode. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we'll get to it in a second, but so Batman is I guess he's still killing people right here. I don't think that I don't know. This is kind of strange. Like, should he have changed his tune by now? Because that's
Has
something
he gone
I'm
through a
curious
character
about.
arc? But I mean, that would be a major light switch. But then we just saw a major light switch.
Yeah, like I mean,
So it
he
would
doesn't
be
kill Superman, and
it would be pretty consistent for him to suddenly be like, and now I'm the Batman I was 10 years ago.
yeah, but also like okay, he goes in here, and there's some stuff that is like straight up like at one point he grabs a crate,
Yeah.
throws the crate with his grappling hook at a guy's face, smashes the guy's head into the wall, and blood splatters from the guy's head.
I love his jumping through that window right there. I know
Yeah.
I know that was in the trailers and stuff, but that is just right out of Arkham, and I love it.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. But you'll see it. I'll point it out specifically when he like smashes this guy's head and blood
Right.
like splurts out everywhere. Like this is a crazy
It's 'cause
scene.
that's what Snyder lives for. Yeah, and he looks like a crazy Batman. So is he still cold and heartless and ruthless, or has he learned something? And once again, we have two different Batmans.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna let that argument go. I don't think. I think we have two Batmans, and it's even more problematic because he's supposed to have now kind of gone through a character arc where he's gotten over some of that. I think.
Yeah, and it's really strange because it's like Snyder goes out of his way to have
And that
Batman.
guy fell through the floor.
Yeah, but he goes out of his way right here to have like this guy accidentally get killed by a grenade and all of this stuff. So it's just
Yeah.
like it's weird because when you hear Snyder talk about it, he says like Batman kills by proxy, like he doesn't actually kill anyone and they just happen to be in the car that he shoots and stuff like that. But it's like, why are you going out of your way to have so many people die in conflict with
Because
Batman?
he loves that. It's his favorite thing. Or at least it seems to be. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's just... why else
Right
would
here,
you do
watch
that?
This, watch this box. Watch this box right here. Watch it hit this guy's head. Smashes his
Oh, my God. He's dead.
head. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there was no need for that. And, by the way, you could make that movie, and if you were thoughtful about it, that's, of course, a really fascinating thing with superheroes that we often don't actually talk about.
Yeah.
Where... You have superheroes like especially Batman because he's so obsessed with it and he's to the extreme with it. The no-kill rule.
Yeah.
There's no way Batman does what he does and people don't accidentally die.
Yeah.
And how does he live with that? How does he sleep at night? How does he not let that change him?
Yeah.
Because he acts like if anyone dies because of him, that could put him over the edge. Not just I intentionally shot someone in the face.
Yeah.
Like people don't die around like I feel like when that happens it could set Batman over the edge and he could become as bad as the villains he fights. And this movie is supposed to be a Batman that has maybe already gone there, but because of Superman, because he thinks he has to be that person in order to stop Superman.
Okay, so what are we supposed to take away from this right here? Batman looks at him creepily, and then like we cut away after that guy was like begging for
He's
like
dead.
Presumably his life. But then that makes all of this so this scene right here. So he breaks through the wall here. He grabs the guy's gun, points it at the KG Beast. Then he shoots the KG Beast's jetpack or his flamethrower like tanks, and then the KG Beast technically kills himself. But why not just shoot him in the face? Like if you're okay with people if you're okay with doing some of the things you did earlier in this same fight, why can't you just shoot him here?
Yeah, it's like we did that so that we could get away with saying that Batman's not responsible for that guy's death. But the way that happens so fast, the way Batman jumps, he knows he's going to die.
Yeah, and that was his plan. And we saw him just do that creepy thing where he comes up to the guy who has the knife in his arm, then we cut off screen. He smashed that guy's head with the box and his head like splurted blood everywhere.
Yeah.
He beat that guy's face into the ground and kept punching and you see blood splurting out. It's like there are people, and he kicked that guy and the grenade thing happened and the guy with the grenade blew up, but he's also just straight up ran through people's cars with his Batmobile and killed them that way. So
and once again, I feel the need to reiterate why that's a problem. It's not just Batman's not supposed to kill people.
Yeah.
It's not just comic book, you have to do it the way me and Rasco remember our Batman, you're doing it wrong. No, it's story consistency. It's internal logic. You might be able to, I mean, it's not necessarily what I want, but you might, for the sake of the story, be able to make me buy that this is a Batman that kills people and here's why. But that's not what it is. We're entirely inconsistent about it and pretending like he's going too far, branding people when he just did that!
yeah, can I just point out when Superman shows up right there, that Lex Luthor line is either completely ridiculous or genius because he makes three different references to three different cartoon rabbits. He talks about, he says or he says silly rabbit, and then, or no, it's actually two different rabbits, but it's the Alice in Wonderland rabbit and the Tricks rabbit, because he goes silly rabbit, and then he's like out of tricks, out of time.
Oh my god, that's great! I never noticed
and it's like,
that.
He's talking about cartoon rabbits. It's just really funny.
Yeah, you're right. It does seem like Doomsday just came out of the oven, especially because we just had a kitchen timer that dinged.
Yeah. Yeah, the kitchen timer.
So that's exactly what it was. So he was always planning to do this, apparently, and I was wrong.
Wasn't the point of him going to fight Batman? Like, it's weird, because, like, he went to fight Batman, and, like, did he want Batman to kill Superman? Because the only reason he thought Batman had a chance is because he knew Batman had his kryptonite. If Batman hadn't let Lex Luthor know that he stole it in the theatrical cut, we can't say that about this cut because we know that he saw security footage of Batman. But in the theatrical cut, Batman, the only reason Lex Luthor even knows Batman has it is because Batman let him know that he has it.
Question, does that mean anything when he says ancient Kryptonian deformity?
I have no idea.
What does that mean? Like, this isn't the New 52 Doomsday, is it? Like, isn't it? I thought that was just a monster clone of Zod mixed with Lex's blood because reasons.
Yeah, and this just kills me because I love Doomsday. What got me into comics as a kid, one of the first things I ever read was Death of Superman. There were two copies of Death of Superman in my library in the fourth, and when I was in elementary
I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you had the love for Death of Superman that I do. That's wonderful.
I love Death of Superman. It was, and you talked about, I think you said before, he had to die before you cared.
Yes.
And that was the same thing I had. I remember my uncle one night when I was really little explained to me that Superman at some point was killed, and I was like, what? By who? Doomsday. And Doomsday was like a legend in my head for so long as a kid. And then I found Death of Superman in the library of my elementary school. Seeing Doomsday in this movie, it just kind of kills me a little bit because why does he look so stupid? I don't think...
I just love the way you put that. He was a legend in my mind, a legendary plot device.
Yeah.
No, he looks like... I mean, I've said this before, but he looks like every CG monster in a superhero thing or other monster movies you've seen, and he's... I've read, and I don't remember the guy's name, but I've read that he's designed by the same guy that designed a lot of those.
Yeah, he looks a lot like the trolls from Lord of the Rings. That's one that's an...
Yeah, and he's the Abomination.
Yeah. And, man, he just... Did Doomsday need to be so giant? Because he's really big.
I'm fine with Doomsday being really big.
And I'm not going to complain about that, but like I just always like see Doomsday in my head in Death of Superman, and he's not much bigger than Superman in that.
I want to suggest, and again, I don't want to rewrite the movie. I guess it's possible... I don't know how. I guess it's possible that you could do this version of Superman where people don't appreciate him until he dies. You know, so it's sort of like art imitating life, and it's like what you and I had as kids, Rasco.
Yeah.
Where it's like this world doesn't appreciate Superman until he's dead.
Yeah.
But the point of Death of Superman was that on this grand scale of you come to get complacent, and you never think he's going to die because he's impervious.
Yeah.
And Superman is this guy that you can always count on, and he's always there, and he's this large-than-life idea. We can't imagine what we'd do without him, but we could never imagine that we wouldn't have him. Mm-hmm. And then the whole point of Death of Superman is once he's gone, what is the world like? Like what was interesting about Death of Superman wasn't just the death. I mean, that's epic, but it's seeing the world without him and how people react to it. You don't have that with this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Justice League will try to sort of do something with that, but this is a world where this Superman is really conflicted and isn't sure what he stands for yet. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say that this viewing, I'm appreciating that more than I did before.
Yeah.
I'll throw that out there. This idea that maybe I don't know if I'm right about this, that maybe he sort of has those ideals and wants to... again, perpetuate them and be the symbol of them, but he doesn't know if this world is, going to actually respond to it. Mm-hmm.
I think that at this point, Doomsday should have his spikes.
I don't know why he does it from the beginning.
Yeah, but it's like if they want to make it an evolution thing, like come on, like the longer he doesn't have his spikes, the more generic of a character or of a monster.
I think it's supposed to be like a big moment when they finally protrude through, but it doesn't land for me.
It's just like give him his spikes. He looks so stupid. He just looks so stupid.
I love. Oh, and look, we've got the I just think he's really hot girl. Oh, and then the guy says Key is hot, which is really funny, like right in front of her.
Oh, right there, President. That's not Obama talking on that. Like everyone else is real life. You know, it's real life people. We got Anderson Cooper, we got Neil deGrasse Tyson, but not the president. Just a strange thing.
And because of the Daily Show thing, it also seems like it takes place like earlier in Obama's second term.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can do a pseudo real world that has some bits from reality and other bits that aren't in real. Again, comics have done that. It's not a big deal, I guess.
It's strange that we saw a poster of Nixon though. In this cut.
Yeah, and so for some reason we have a generic president.
Yeah.
Like, you should only do that if the president is going to be a character.
Yeah.
Because, like, I understand if you want the president to be involved and you don't want to use actual Obama because, again, like, the point this movie makes that every action is a political one. I can kind of see why you wouldn't want to use the president you currently have unless everything he does is completely altruistic and you can't read into anything.
Yeah.
Just because you don't want to make a political statement about the president.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if they wanted to, like, it could have been, like, even if you couldn't get Obama, because you probably wouldn't get Obama to actually do that voiceover there on the phone. Of course, but you could have gotten a guy to be like,
have someone that sort of sounds like Obama, yeah.
Launch the nukes, yeah. Kill that monster, yeah.
In fact, I think the guy who plays General Swanwick could almost play Obama.
in like a biopic or something?
Yeah, like a biopic, yeah. Almost.
Yeah. So we get the spikes now? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. He's shedding.
I'm not satisfied with the spikes. This is complete nitpicks, but, like, the spikes are not spiky enough.
Yeah, and why does... I mean, he's already a big giant monster. Why does he have to have electricity powers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it. He came from Zod's blood, and he's got this massive charge of Kryptonian powers.
Yeah. I will point out that it's a good thing that we see Superman try to take Doomsday into space.
I love this shot.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
That's haunting and sad and stuff.
He should play Obama. Yeah.
No, I think he can totally play. Like, doesn't Obama also have a cleft chin like he does?
I think so. I don't know. Let's get a side by side.
Like, yeah, let's compare those guys. Like, when he gets a little bit older and a little grayer, he can totally play Obama in a biopic.
Perfect.
He could play 2008 Obama right now.
Yeah.
I did not think we would be having a conversation about the president.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's a recurring theme.
It doesn't come up very often on our channel. We're talking about the president. I want to live in this Batcave so bad.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I like that the operating system on the computers in this is consistent and it actually looks like it could be a real operating system because I complained about that in things that take me out of movies when we did that GNN. And one of the things that I complain takes me out of movies is like really fake looking operating systems.
Oh yeah, me too.
And when like Wonder Woman and
operating
Bruce Wayne...
systems that like open windows in programs too fast?
Yeah. Yeah. But, like, when Wonder Woman and Bruce Wayne are, like, emailing each other and stuff, like, that all looks like it could really be on a computer. Like, it doesn't look ridiculous.
Okay, so we have a clear, pretty good consequence to Batman's actions from earlier when he goes after Superman and he's being too impulsive and emotionally driven, right? Where he's all out of kryptonite. And if he hadn't have been so impassioned and he hadn't listened to what little Superman was saying to him at the beginning of that fight, maybe he wouldn't have run out of kryptonite. And I really hope that Justice League has Batman going down kind of a road of redemption where he's not playing it like, okay, I figured everything out and I'm perfect now, but where part of the reason he's putting the Justice League together is that he's trying to make up for the fact that he's half responsible for Superman's death.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, and
like,
I mean,
I want him to feel bad for the fact that Superman died.
Yeah, there's an obvious reason why it would make sense for Batman to gather the Justice League. I love this music.
I like Junkie XL in general. I think his stuff's pretty good.
Yeah, I love this.
So people say she comes right out of nowhere, and I took up for it initially because she's at least in the movie up to this point.
Yeah.
But we do have, and to be fair, this happens in movies that I don't think they complain about because, you know, everything else is working about them, and so I'm not taken out of the movie constantly, so I don't think about it. But yes, it is problematic that she just, you know, shows up for a dramatic moment when Doomsday's about to take out Batman.
Okay, wait, Cap.
Yeah.
The Lois Lane, she had the kryptonite, now she doesn't have it and she's going to find it. When did she lose it? Was there a scene? Because
I never noticed it in the theater either.
That was one of the things where it's like she has the. Oh wait! I want to point this out too. When Doomsday's about to use his heat vision on Batman, I just don't think it was a very Batman thing to do to just like put his hands up and accept his fate right there and just be like, I'm about to die. Like, I don't know. I feel like Batman would have like done something, like ejected himself out of the. I don't know, and I can't say that because like I don't know if there was anything he could have done, but like Batman just like, oh, okay, he just puts his hands
Rasco,
up.
it's cooler because you don't expect Wonder Woman to show up and save him, except you do because that's what happens in all the trailers.
Yeah. Oh.
This might get me in some trouble with people, but I gotta ask you this question, Rasco.
Yeah.
She's here partly, obviously, because we gotta do all this major Justice League setup, but do you think part of it is also because this is such a, like, really masculine slugfesty kind of movie?
Yeah.
And so, like, I wonder if that's not part of it, because it just feels very strategic to have her in this movie.
Yeah.
There's so much of this, like, accessibility, trying to crack the code, how do we make everybody happy? And so it really does feel like, you know, okay, we've got this big female superhero, we better get her in there somewhere, somehow.
It's possible. I mean, we do have Lois, and she's played somewhat of a prominent role in this film, but
she's at least a strong character and not a, and doesn't get kidnapped. I mean, you know, the mom gets kidnapped, Martha gets kidnapped, but... And I'm not begrudging Wonder Woman being here, really, just because, you know, if this movie is going to be this awkward and confusing and stuff, with all this action stuff, it's fun to have her here. I mean, you know, if it's going to be that kind of movie anyway, I like having her here, and she's awesome.
I will say, she delivers one line really poorly, and it's when she like looks over at Doomsday when they're like Batman's getting out of his cockpit and Superman lands, and she says like something along the lines of, and she says like, this monster, this thing, it feeds on energy. Yeah. And it's a really bad line delivery. It's like
it's not good.
It's read right off of a page. It's like, this monster, this thing, it feeds off energy. It's
going to be really interesting to see how she carries the movie by herself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like write her off at this point.
No,
like, we have not seen enough of her to dictate whether or not she can carry her own movie, but that is a concern.
It's really hard to act in a scene like that because you're just part of the set dressing at that point.
Yeah. I wonder.
And to be fair, in the party and stuff, she's not delivering any of those lines poorly.
Yeah, no, she's fine in that.
I say it's a masterful performance, but it's not. She's not given anything masterful to do.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm not sure how he lost the spear.
Yeah. I wonder if there was a scene there.
Did we miss something?
It is kind of like...
Surely we missed something. It's really hard to believe that even this movie would do that.
It's weird because I always like remind myself like, oh, pay attention to the spear, and then I always forget about it, and then I never realize what happens to the spear.
Yeah, well,
It's just weird because you see her pick it up and maybe she threw it into the water or something, but then she has to go back and get it.
The way this movie is edited is so choppy. I mean, it's about as bipolar as this Lex Luthor, really.
Yeah, it's a commentary on the film. His character is.
Right.
It's intentional.
Of course.
You just don't like the heroes being deconstructed.
Come on, Rasco. I'm trying my hardest to enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this is... I mean, I'm not having as much fun with this as I did the first time around, because it surprised me with just how wild it was willing to go.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a better experience than I had the second time around. The pacing is definitely really wonky.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know that this extra half hour is ultimately helping it as a piece very much.
I agree.
It's explained a few things, and it's like the main things. If you put nothing else back in, give me the little bits of Superman helping people right after the explosion, and you've turned me around on him another 20-30%.
Yeah, it's a matter like it's kind of in my head. I after seeing what I assume is we've probably seen most of what has been added. I doubt there's much more added to the end of this movie at this point. I'm just assuming that
it's going to be the longest funeral ever.
But it's a matter of I think that the added scenes have helped make it obvious what the ideas were supposed to be in some regards.
Yeah,
I think that with the theatrical cut, it's hard to tell what they think the movie is about, and now I'm starting to see what it's confirmed in my mind what they think the movie is about.
Yeah, and then it's just a matter of whether or not that's...
But it didn't execute it any better.
Yeah.
It just brings the ideas more to the forefront of what they were at least trying to do. I guess right here you can argue that Wonder Woman doesn't use the spear to kill Doomsday because she's tied him up, but at this point, like right there, she could have Doomsday's been hit by kryptonite, and then like why couldn't Wonder Woman just take the spear and kill Doomsday? I don't understand why.
No, I don't get this. And also, anytime...
Her sword also can stab through Doomsday's skin because she cut off his hand.
And anytime Superman is flying around with a big chunk of kryptonite, that always bothers me.
Yeah.
But we haven't really established how much affects him in what way in this, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, stabbed him in the heart, that'll kill him.
Yeah.
I'm glad that actually kills him, that's good. But yeah, why doesn't he just throw it to her?
Yeah, and it's strange because she did cut off Doomsday's hand with her sword. Like, why didn't she try to stab him?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, so she's able to, and he's not growing it back real quick. So she actually might have been able to kill him.
Yeah, and just a fight.
Well, yeah, I mean something to do. By the way, I like this music cue a lot.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good stuff.
No.
And see, this, regardless of, and I mean, I don't mean to be like this. I could not put my critical hat on. Wow, Cavill looks like 10 years younger right there.
Yeah.
He died and he lost 10 years. But that's just a footnote. But anyway, like in the theater, this got me a little bit.
Yeah,
just finally getting to see Death of Superman on screen. I'm so glad to talk to somebody with this that's a Death of Superman fan.
Yeah, because I probably understand that. Yeah, I probably understand where you're coming from more than anyone else would.
Boy, to see them both drop at the same time like that's exactly how it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a kryptonite spear or anything. Yeah. Before we get too far into Death of Superman stuff,
you see that cross on the left?
Yeah.
Get the Jesus allegory yet?
And then oh yeah.
What, you'll see it again. It's in the next shot.
I never noticed that because I thought it was weird there was all that Jesus allegory in Man of Steel, but then there wasn't any in this. And then there is. And right. then that's very much they're like taking him off the cross.
Yeah. I'd say it works better here than it did in Man of Steel.
Well, it's clearly at least more subtle.
Yeah.
Because
there's another shot that's actually pretty cool when you see the lighting, and this I think it's like literally in the next shot. Okay, if we can stop looking at them crying, you'll see it in a second.
You know what I wish we'd gotten, just because I mean, just because I would have loved to have seen it, on screen, is I would have loved him draped over Lois's knee,
Yeah.
and I would have loved somehow or rather the shattered cape on a pole.
That would have been pretty cool.
I mean, I don't know how his cape makes it through all that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They really could have done that, and it wouldn't have been laying it on any thicker than we're laying it on right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I wanted to mention earlier, and this is a joke before it's anything else, but man, when...
Oh, right there on the left, the cross.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, there's two of them!
But
there's three of them!
Out, the other cross.
I'm finding more crosses!
Cross
This is becoming a Where's Waldo puzzle! First of all, with regards to Wonder Woman lassoing Doomsday, does the lasso just get bigger depending on what she's trying to lasso it around? Because that was a lot of lasso, and
it's designed to fight Doomsday. She knew.
Yeah,
she was
it keeps growing. If she, and also, I wanted her to start asking it questions.
Oh, this is the scene they released on the internet a couple days after BVS was out.
Yeah, I didn't know if this would be in this or not, so I don't know why they cut that, because that is.
Is that what he's gonna look like in Justice League?
I don't know, but I mean, so much of this, there's so much random setup for Justice League in this movie. I don't know why that wasn't there, especially because you kind of need it, because then he's making a big deal out of, like, he's coming. Like,
yeah,
they should have left that in, and it didn't take any time.
Yeah.
Why did you cut that out, crazy people?
Yeah.
Hey Lex, why are you getting your head shaved? Because I'm Lex Luthor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's really odd to have a Batman that's middle-aged and a Lex Luthor that looks younger than me.
Yeah.
I guess kind of because of that I like that it's his son, but it's also a new Superman, so whatever.
Yeah, I do like the second of talking between, like, oh, that's really cool right there.
It's just, we got the newspaper, and I get jazzed about the newspaper, and
yeah.
Rasco, I will admit that in the theater during this bit, I teared up. And it wasn't because I was really emotionally invested in this Superman. It was because I did not see adaptation of Death of Superman coming.
Yeah, this
I didn't
took
think
me
I would
so
ever
off guard
see
in the
this.
theater. I was like, what the heck? I did not think that this was going to happen. And, like, this was really crazy when I was in the movie theater. This was such a crazy experience watching this movie.
Yeah. It is surreal even now.
Yeah.
I like how all this is paced. Where was... I don't mean exactly this, but, like, where was all this aftermath after we killed Zod?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm glad that we killed Superman, we lingered, because I wouldn't put it past Snyder to kill Superman and then be like, credits! or kill Superman and then Batman's driving down the road, or somebody's driving down the road and then Batman drops a satellite out of the sky.
Yeah. Was this specific shot in the theatrical cut
of Perry White?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know that movie well enough to remember. But yeah, I'm not sure that it was.
Oh.
I like that we thought about where exactly he's buried.
Yeah.
And that we make the distinction between Superman and Clark, and that he would want to be buried in Kansas as opposed to being buried as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we thought about all that. I just wish I'd fallen in love with the Superman before we killed him. I mean, I realize we're going to get him back again, but I'm just...
Yeah.
I do worry that he's going to come back acting like a totally different character and we're going to pretend like he was always that way.
Yeah.
I hope not. But again, I like him better this time.
Yeah, this cut improves upon Superman for the most part. Am I a crazy
person? I kind of like it better. I don't think the story works, ultimately.
Yeah.
But bits of it.
I mean, this is a movie where you can pull out a lot of individual things and be like, oh, I like that. And it's just, when you put it together, I can totally understand why there are people that like that have a good time and consider this movie. I don't know. Like this for me, I understand where the appeal of this movie is. Like I don't think that it's crazy for there to be people that like this movie. I just don't think at the end of the day that this movie succeeds at what it's trying to do. I mean,
I also don't think I can completely tell you what that is.
yeah.
That's part of the problem. It does have a confused identity. This sounds awful, but at the end of the day, what it's trying to do is give the majority of people whatever it is they want from a Batman and Superman movie. Like, that's what it's trying to do.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's got so many different things. It's got Dark Knight Returns Batman, it's got Death of Superman, it's got Batman v Superman, and like it's got Lex Luthor. Like it's just got so much stuff. We're setting up Justice League. We got this crazy dream sequence that looks like it could be from like Injustice, Gods Among Us, like,
and then five others that make you think that your protagonists are crazy hallucinating people.
You've got Obama look-alike. You've got...
That's right.
You've got political pundits. You've got Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I gotta give him Swanwick getting as much screen time as he does.
Yeah.
Not that he's like this really complex, fascinating character or anything, but
yeah, but it's good to.
I'm just impressed that they didn't go, oh, people hate a Man of Steel, so let's pretend like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That gives me maybe I don't know that I don't know that I gave them enough credit when we were talking about this on Zero Hour last week, Rasco. Like, Justice League could build on this better than we're thinking.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's gonna happen. That was really obvious foreshadowing. My slain shall rise again. Yes, because you see, I love that in Rebirth right now we've got the Dan Jurgens Superman, the Superman who died, that this is based on, in the world of 52, just waiting around for their Superman to come back from the dead.
Yeah,
I love that.
By Bruce Wayne, that's whom.
That's it. That was really terrible grammar, Rasco. That's whom.
By whom?
This viewing, and I don't know if it was just because we were talking and stuff, but this viewing I didn't feel as much like Lois and Clark's relationship was as scary and messed up as I did in the theater.
Yeah, I think that's partially from, we see that Superman, it's not just Lois, that he has a greater sense of empathy for like everyone other than more than just Lois. You get that with the scene where he's carrying out the dead bodies.
I think part of the idea, again, it's just not communicating well. I think the thing is he's afraid he's going to turn into Batman.
Yeah,
and he's kind of just allowing himself to lose it. It happens too fast, but look at all the light switch in this.
Yeah,
I love that face.
I'll say this.
Okay, well, he does basically just come right out and say that he's guilty about Superman's. Like, I failed him in life. It's not just because he tried to kill him. Yeah. It's because he used up all the kryptonite and he could have stopped Doomsday.
Yeah. I hate this monologue that Batman's not what he just said. The thing that he's about to say, it just made me cringe. You're like, I don't know if you remember what he's about to say, but you'll see in a second. Like his little speech about men just bugs me. Men are still good. It just feels like really overly simplistic.
Oh wait, he's got a speech now. Okay.
We fight, we kill, we betray one another, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's like where are you getting that from? Just like because Superman was willing to kill himself to sacrifice himself like that? Like,
yeah, it's weird because like this movie is building itself, and the ideas that it is attempting to explore are rather complex ideas.
Sure.
This speech right here is really, really dumbed down so that an audience can feel like they got the moral.
Yeah, but you almost need that because I don't know that I would get much from it without it.
See, another example of like labels being put on things.
Yeah.
There was also examples of labels with the pictures that said judge, jury, executioner. Those photographs had the labels on them. I don't know where people are going with that, but that's apparently a thing that a lot of people have talked
Oh,
about, like names
okay.
of things and like I forget what the name of the ship was that Batman found the kryptonite was being shipped on, and like stuff like that. Apparently, there's like some sort of like theme, and like all that all connects somehow, but I'm not sure what people are talking about when they say that.
It's not immediately clear to me.
It could be like the jar of pee thing, where it doesn't really mean anything.
It might. I'm still not sure. I
Or
still
no,
feel dumb.
the pee had a label on it too. It said
That's right. Oh man, it's a conspiracy. It's a label conspiracy, and it all goes back to '60s Batman because he labels everything.
It all connects.
That's right. Here it comes, Rasco. Here comes my favorite moment in the whole movie.
Oh.
And then this just comes right out of Dark Knight, right? Rasco, you there?
Where'd the guards go? I think that's a legitimate question.
Yeah, that is a good. Well, is it that Dark Knight thing where they're sort of working with Batman or something?
Yeah, like I don't know.
I don't know. See, look, he's changed, Rasco, because he's not going to brand Lex Luthor. But I want to see a branded Bat Lex Luthor for the rest of the time that he's in these movies.
But I was saying
Rasco,
that
what happened to Lex's ear? Like, has he been boxing?
If Batman did brand him, he should have branded him on the forehead, and it could have been like everybody
Like the Joker?
has. Yeah,
And then
everyone gets things on their foreheads.
He'd be damaged in a different way.
Oh, the Joker's got a label on his face.
Oh,
It's
that's
all
right.
connecting.
Oh, the bell's already been rung. And see, he's been boxing because he's thinking about bell ringing metaphors.
Yeah.
So everybody has to know what's about to happen here, right? I mean, I don't mean the ding 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 thing, but just, he's not going to actually brand him.
Dun dun.
Rasco, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Here we go.
Yeah.
This music.
Yeah, this is some crazy music.
I just want this whole movie to be like this. He's coming. I still don't know if he's talking about Darkseid or if he's just talking about one of Darkseid's minions.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that they like so heavily, like with the Justice League setup, it really seems like they're setting up Darkseid in that dream.
Well, especially because now that I'm thinking about it, since he has that whole speech about monsters coming from the sky.
Yeah.
And that's the whole Parademon thing.
So Batman left the funeral, went to Lex Luthor, and came back, and Lois is still here? Like, what the heck? Is this a different day?
Yeah, no, it's got to be because this is Clark's funeral as opposed to Superman's funeral.
Yeah,
wasn't the other one Superman's funeral?
But we saw like at the Kent farm though, like.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like they had a funeral. The
Sorry,
guys
I was distracted by ding 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 ding.
The guys are there waiting to bury the coffin. Those two guys on the left with the shovels. And did Bruce Wayne like come to the funeral, leave, and then come? Why did he even come back right there? Wait a second.
Did he? Yeah, I
We just saw him walking back through the cornfields. What?
Yeah, because it's not like this is Metropolis.
What the? That's
Yeah.
really weird. The editing, like, what the heck? I don't know what the point of having the shot of Bruce Wayne back in a cornfield is if you're just gonna end the movie, like.
My whole response is ding 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 ding. That is what this movie has done to me.
Oh.
It would be easier if I could write the whole thing off as complete nonsense, and I can't.
Yeah.
Not completely. I mean, now I gotta mention that some of the interesting ideas we're talking about are certainly things that a lot of superhero stories have been tackling lately.
Yeah. It's it's kind of strange to end the movie with the dusk or with the dirt coming off the coffin unless Superman's going to be alive like at the beginning of the next movie.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like, why did you need that? Like, why didn't you just end the movie with no hint at Superman coming back? That's what I would have done. Like, do you need that?
No, I don't think you need it at all. And well, when I say it doesn't make sense, I just mean with the timeline. I would say unless they do the whole his grave is empty. We think it was robbed. They could do that,
Yeah.
and then he could be in hiding for some reason
Yeah, it really just depends on.
for a while. There are things you could do with that. That's not necessarily gonna not work. So I don't want to judge that too early. Originally I thought it didn't make sense because I was like, why would the dust fly out first? But then that is how his flight works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I don't know why he's about to do that from inside of a coffin. Because I'm just imagining him like making a giant crater just to make a big entrance or
Yeah.
exit, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they probably won't really think about that or do anything with it because it's just a punchy ending.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Just like a teasy, oh look, he's alive. Like, I don't know. I feel like most people know about Death of Superman and know that he's probably going to come back.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I do you think that this was better or worse than the theatrical cut?
I think I am glad I saw it because I think it makes. See, this is rough. I think knowing some of what they were attempting to do makes me appreciate the project a little bit more. I think that ultimately just like with Days of Future Past, but to a much bigger degree, because Days of Future Past works just fine the way it is with the theatrical cut. But the closest to perfect movie you could get with what we have would be some sort of a blend between those two cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't.
But much more so. There are a number of little bits of little moments and scenes that really should be added back into the theatrical cut, but you don't need that whole subplot of Clark investigating Batman. It doesn't add anything.
Yeah, you really don't need that.
Now, I'm saying that having talked through it. I mean, there might be things I missed that I would later go, okay, we do need that, but I don't think so. Just having given it a watch.
Yeah, it is a thing where you're gonna have to like sit down and like work out. Like you're gonna have to like write out the direct connections between certain
Exactly.
things that you're seeing on a piece of paper. Like, it is too like early to definitively, I guess, say like those scenes were pointless. But it is kind of weird because I will say that this cut of the film does kind of lose the thing that I will say is kind of enjoyable about the theatrical cut, and that like that movie. I don't get bored through it, and I have a hard time imagining myself not watching this again and being bored by it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna sit down and watch a 3-hour cut of BVS and I would much rather watch the shorter cut of the movie because at the end of the day, I don't think it works on a narrative level, and it's like, what else are these scenes being added for other than to flesh out the narrative?
And I think if I had my druthers, what I would add back to the theatrical cut is maybe all of 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably. Because, I mean, the things that we were noticing that we liked that were being added back in, they were really small things.
And they took no time, and it wasn't like you needed most of them in a grander context.
Yeah.
A lot of them you could easily just kind of sneak back in there. I was about to say that these closing credits are shorter than I expected them to be, but I guess they're still going.
Yeah. Maybe this will be like Blade Runner and we'll get 4 cuts and we'll get like the director's cut, the producer's cut.
I will say that one thing I was concerned about, I'm not worried about anymore, which is which of these cuts will be considered canonical moving forward, because the majority of the extra stuff put back in is insignificant enough that I don't think it will really matter moving forward. I don't think it's and a lot of it is just explaining things that we already knew.
Yeah,
and
like
that
the prisoner scene
and
and
were
stuff like
things
that.
that were given to us explicitly enough where we didn't really need to see them in scene. Snyder's having a really difficult time. He and his editor having a really difficult time deciding what needs to be shown to us and what we can gather from exposition and from and from visuals, from just pictures of things and stuff. Because I mean it's a visual narrative, and we keep like worrying that the audience isn't going to follow us with stuff, but then there are other things that we need to tell the audience that we don't bother with. It's a very confused and muddled way of storytelling.
Yeah.
Man of Steel had that too, but I didn't realize just how much until I started writing about it, and then I really didn't realize how much until I saw this, and then it confirmed some things I was concerned about with that movie.
Do you think that this movie would have been received worse if this was the cut that was released as the theatrical cut?
That's a
Like,
great question.
by critics?
Because I think 3 hours with that last act. I can't say third, Rasco. I don't know about that right now.
The possible sixth act.
With that,
it might be one act.
Yeah, or maybe it's one. Maybe it's just two in a quarter. But but with that ending, with just how convoluted that fight is, and Lex's plot and all of that, I think it might have been worse because it looks really self-indulgent at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just keeps going and going, and that ending doesn't make a lot of sense. And a lot of thematically what it seems like we might explore, it doesn't seem like we're exploring enough, and motivations are strange and stuff. And so once you put all that together, and it's 3 hours, yeah, I don't know. I mean people were already complaining it was too long.
Yeah, and yeah, man, and like that's it's one of those things where it really does bother me that this guy did nothing to address the questions about Lex Luthor's plan and everything like that. Like that's what this cut needed to be. It needed to be a lot more of us seeing what Lex Luthor was thinking as he was coming up with his plan, and the steps that he was taking.
Yeah, that's all really careless at the end of the day, and as careless as it was in the first place.
Yeah.
Wow, this is Rasco. I've never had a relationship with a movie like this.
Yeah, it is really weird. It is a really strange. I have a very similar relationship, I think, because there are a lot of things like Death of Superman that I'm seeing, and I'm like, this is awesome to see. I just wish it was in a better movie.
Yeah, most of what I like, I think, is pretty superficial. And folks that really disliked us for mostly talking negatives in the spoiler cast and stuff, every time I have brought up the positive things that I like about this movie and talk to people about them, it always gets steered into this negative direction of, well, yeah, okay, that looks cool, but what's it actually doing? And then once I talk about what it's actually doing, then it seems to get flimsy and fall apart. And like I said, I just feel dumb watching this movie. I feel like there's stuff here that I keep wanting to think that a lot of what I'm not getting is really there, and it's just either poorly communicated or for some reason it's not grabbing me enough for me to like get sucked into it and pay full attention to it. Mm-hmm. But I suspect that's not it.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Maybe I'll find more stuff when I start writing about it. I don't know.
That kind of benefit of the doubt. If it wasn't from a director like Zack Snyder, who has in the past, when he talks about his movies, if you listen to his commentaries on his own films, it's just so much of, I did this because it was cool. And that's what he said. That's not anyone putting words in his mouth. Like, that's the kind of stuff that he says when he talks about his own movies. So
his priority is not telling stories.
Yeah. I'm just inclined to kind of assume the worst when it comes to things like that. When it's up in the air, I'm going to err on that side of it's probably just Snyder thinking things are cool.
Having seen this, my big positive takeaway is I don't think Superman is unsalvageable. Yeah,
I would agree.
And I kind of worried that he sort of was, and that they would have to just completely reinvent him and pretend like it was always that way. He's still too light switchy, he's still too extreme, but everybody's extreme. And again, there's things about that are fun to me, but it's inconsistent because I think simultaneously, while it's super stylistic, it also thinks it's super realistic.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Well, I'm excited to see what people say in the comments, and once again, take some of what we said during this with a grain of salt as far as the new scenes and how we reacted to them, because it was a first reaction, and we were talking over dialogue and stuff. So, at some point, there may be... I imagine we'll have another commentary on this at some point with, I don't know who with exactly, but, having actually completely watched this. This was an experiment, was something that folks asked us to do, and so here we are, and we did it. And Rasco, I sure appreciate you coming on board with me and doing this.
Yeah, this was a crazy first commentary podcast, for me at least.
What a weird one to start with, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll get a lot easier from here on out, Rasco.
Hopefully.
Everybody, thanks a lot for listening. We sure appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed watching the movie with us, and we'll see you again with lots more videos coming up soon on Geekvolution. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Rasco.